Odyssey app.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of Investor Schooling or their guests and do not reflect the opinions of WPHT or Odyssey.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. The Larry Steinhouse Show.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, no, it's not morning. It's afternoon, isn't it?
It is.
Afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Larry Steinhouse Show. We are broadcasting live from Investor Schooling headquarters right here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I am Larry Steinhouse, and I am the CEO of Investor Schooling, and I'm here to make financial education fun and accessible to everyone, including you, especially you.
Me?
No, not you. You, the listener. Are you the listener?
Oh, here we go.
Yes, I am listening to you.
Still can't get through the intro.
We can never, ever get past through the intro, can we?
You looked at me and said you. What do you want me to do?
I want you to let me finish the intro.
Do the intro.
Okay,
Let's start again.
No. All right, you want me to start again?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Larry Steinhouse Show. We are broadcasting live from Investor Schooling headquarters right here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I am Larry Steinhouse, and I am the CEO of Investor Schooling, and I'm here to make financial education fun and accessible to everyone, including you, especially you, and even Omri.
Thank you.
On this show, we discuss several ways of making more money. We concentrate on real estate investing, stock options trading, the stock market, how to maximize your retirement fund, and you could call us anytime during the show at
855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137. 855-939-1137.
All right. And
I want to do that.
The
hold on.
855.
And
Do
they don't
that.
even know you're here yet, so hold on.
Yeah, we need to introduce
You're
it.
talking and they don't even know you're here yet. So let me finish the intro, then I'll introduce you because obviously,
Let's do that.
you can't wait to talk.
Zippity-doo-dah.
Okay, hold on. We're also here live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Please leave us a comment and say hi. We got a couple of people already saying hi. We got Kimmy saying hi. We got Kimmy saying she's glad that Dr. Deb is back. Dr. Deb was out last week. I'm also here with my co-host, of course, Dr. Deb Anderson, and Omri Morad, also known as an immigrant. And we have...
D.
D immigrant?
Yeah, when you say an immigrant,
You mean the immigrant.
what did I say?
immigrant.
You said D, like the letter.
Yeah, D.
The immigrant. I am the immigrant.
Yeah,
Right.
the immigrant.
No, it's your accent.
Yes, that's my
And
accent.
we have the world-famous Judge Ed Levine
Yes.
from Montgomery County. He's here as well. And we'll be talking to him about some cool stuff. But listen, give us a call. We'll put you on the air. We'll discuss finances, real estate, stock market, and even politics, and the topic at hand. And that phone number is
855-939-1137.
No.
855-939-393.
It is, but it should be. Put
11:36.
more bass into
You
it.
gotta put it
Oh,
next.
really?
Like you threw something from your court right
really?
now.
Like it's like
Yeah, like
it's like you're saying it in front of your
855.
girlfriend.
855
There you go.
Oh,
1137.
There you go. You gotta do more sexy though.
that's
God.
855
Wait,
We got
wait.
939.
coming up.
we're starting to sound like the morning show.
Yeah, I know, but we are.
For you guys who listen to the morning show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And our producer is Frank Canale. He's out there right now cracking up. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Anyway, the Larry Steinhouse Show is brought to you by Investor Schooling. At Investor Schooling, we teach you things about money I'll bet you never knew.
Of course.
Hey, we focus on practical learning, and we will equip you with real-world skills in real estate investing, stock options, tax savings tips, and the secrets to financial freedom. Our headquarters are right here in Bucks County, but our online courses teach eager investors all over the country. RSVP for a free class this Thursday night at
investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
I love it. All right.
If somebody again will do the investor school. This is the easiest name in the world. Investorschooling.com.
I know. I can't believe people can get it wrong.
That's yeah.
It absolutely amazes me that they can get that wrong. It's such an easy name. But then
Oh, look,
Maybe for us.
your name is tough.
Yeah.
so I just want to do
Nobody
a shout
knows.
out to Glenn Page because Glenn got stuck on the highway, so I just reached out to him to make sure he's all right. But he's saying hello to us from the side of the road of Route 1 because he's actually our producer usually.
Oh.
And he got stuck. He had his car broke down on the way in. So
Right. So
don't-
Glenn Page is stuck on the way to work because he couldn't get there because his car broke down. And we have Frank and Ali stepping in, which we really appreciate you, Frank. Thank you so much. Of course, right? But Glenn knows that this show is so good that while he's waiting to get his car fixed
Yeah.
on the side of the road,
He's listening
going to
to
listen to the
us.
show.
That's
It's
great.
an amazing world we're living in.
Absolutely. So the other voice you keep hearing is our favorite judge,
Thank
famous judge,
He's
Ed Levine.
He's famous for being the favorite judge.
So the reason we bring Judge Levine in all the time is because we like him. He's a good guy.
Thank
We actually hang out with him now and then.
Even though he's a Democrat, though, I think.
Yeah, I was just saying,
No, don't get in the politics.
we're not going to
We're
get
not talking about anything.
Yeah,
No,
I'm-
just
I
saying.
am nothing.
Yeah.
I am
Done.
yeah, we don't
zero.
get into politics. I mean,
None of that.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's different. His politics are different than ours. I have no problem with that.
Oh my God!
He
but-
keeps bringing it up.
No, I know, because she wasn't supposed to, and she didn't know. And I was going to say it differently than the way she said it.
I
That's all.
had no idea.
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay.
it's no big
I am
deal.
bipartisan.
It's no big deal. And he's actually very look. Obviously, he's got to be something good because we like him, right? So,
Something.
we met actually. Ed and I actually met. It was kind of interesting. We met when I brought a tenant to tenant landlord court, and the tenant didn't show up. And of course, you ruled in my favor because the tenant didn't show up. But one of the cool things you did was you actually called the tenant and said, "Hey, I'm about to rule in the landlord's favor. I want to give you an opportunity to at least talk to me on the phone." And he didn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
But the cool part was right after that, we started talking about landlord-tenant stuff. And I started to say, hey, I have this place called Investor Schooling, and we have a radio show. And this was like almost 2 years ago
2
already.
years ago.
Yeah, and it's been fun,
I
getting to know
love
you.
coming on.
Yeah.
I try to do it twice a year. I think is a good amount of
Yeah,
time.
I think so. Yeah,
But I do it more. I mean, just for the pre-show banter.
I know. We always say that the pre-show is funnier than the regular show.
But I mean, things go on. There's lots of stories. Plus, we have some new laws to talk about for all you landlords out there or prospective landlords.
Awesome.
Right.
And things are happening. It's always interesting. And now that you have the 2 hours, hopefully we have time for people to call in with questions
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, as I mentioned earlier, Larry, we are teasing at the end of the show, we're going to give our Super Bowl predictions. Because the Super Bowl is tomorrow. Did you know that, Larry?
Is that like a basketball game?
It's a liberal thing.
Oh no!
Now
If you're
you-
gonna go there. We're gonna go there too.
No.
The Eagles are in the Super Bowl, if you didn't know, Larry. And
Really?
it's a big game tomorrow.
The
So we
Eagles?
should all give our predictions at the end of the show. Keep
Is that
teasing. This is how
is that a New York team?
No, it's a fly, eagles, fly.
I just don't. If you think I'm that dumb, I'll play along.
I just want you to pick a score.
47.
No, not yet. End of the show. End of the show.
Okay.
Sure, let's do that.
All right.
Are we betting? That's the thing. How much I
No,
need
we're
to
not
put?
betting. We're just
Okay.
going to see how we do.
Okay.
My theory is
We could bet. We just can't do it on the air because then we'll get arrested and we'll have to go in front of the judge and he'll have to exonerate us.
My theory is this: these sports radio guys, they obsess about this all day, every day. They obsess too much. They really don't know what the score is going to be. We are normal people, and we actually might have a little more knowledge as to what's going to happen in the game than they do. So I think our predictions might actually be better than all the other sports radio people, and we'll find out. On Monday, we'll see how close we are. Plus, we should also give other predictions.
We're gonna find out on Monday. I thought the Super Bowl was
well,
on
the
Sunday.
Super Bowl, but okay, well, Monday.
I just wanted to show you how smart I was.
I know you're correct. Sunday night, we will know. But then there are things like, will Taylor Swift and Jason or Travis Kelce get married? I don't know.
Who
No,
cares? Oh my
that
God!
can't
You
Because-
care.
Why?
No, 'cause
Why
all
would I
her songs
care?
Are based on all her ex-boyfriends, so she's not going to marry anybody. So
Will Saquon be MVP? I don't know.
I don't know. Who cares?
What happened to this show?
I know.
We bring in a liberal and it ruins it.
I am. I'm
So he is actually not.
I don't know where you're getting.
He is actually not a liberal. But let's move on.
I just couldn't resist.
I'm an American.
You are an. Oh my God!
And welcome
Good.
back, America. Woohoo! All right. So let's
We're
get
going
back.
to make
Let's get to the reason we actually brought Ed in because you had a case
Yes, I
that you
did.
talked about last week,
And the week before,
right? And the week before, and
Yeah.
it's frustrating you,
a bit.
right? So why don't we start with your whole case again?
So things changed. You just mentioned
And by the way,
that.
just so you know, this case is not in front of Ed because we would not.
No, we
can't
will.
talk.
No,
ever
no.
talk about
Of
it
course
in front
not.
of Ed.
Of course not.
It's in a different
Yeah.
municipality.
So as you mentioned a few minutes ago, we are in times that the system is more understandable for the landlord and for the tenant. We don't see many more cases like you just mentioned that you come and the tenant don't show up to court. Normally they
Okay.
do. Normally they know the rules. They know what they can do. And in my case, the tenant in the, believe it or not, fifth case that I have with him in the 4 year that he lives there, decided to appeal. Now,
So you didn't pay his rent.
he didn't pay his
And
rent.
this was when was the last time he paid his rent?
So he didn't pay his rent. I went and I filed.
No, but what month?
One
did he
second,
not?
let me put the full story.
Okay.
So he didn't pay his rent. I filed in court. We have the same rule, right? On the 2nd it's late. On the 5th there is a late fee. On the 15th I file.
Correct.
We filed. The tenant paid the month. I think it was November, and he paid. And I agreed to postpone the hearing, and we postponed the hearing for the next month. It was January already. And I got a judgment that what's called pay and stay, which pay and stay basically mean that the landlord is seeking for the money. He's not seeking for possession, but if the tenant is not paying the debt, he's asking, and how do you say that?
Well,
He's granted possession. He's granted
possession.
the ability to possession, because you still need to go and file the possession.
Yeah.
It's not
if
automatic.
The tenant still hasn't fulfilled the financial obligation.
Yeah.
The tenant or the landlord has the ability to file for possession.
Correct.
But as soon as the tenant pays that financial obligation, it's
The-
done.
the
and
court
they
is
stay
done.
In the house.
Correct.
Right,
Correct.
but your situation was they filed an appeal for possession, or they filed
So
appeal
now-
for the money they owed.
That's the thing. So you know that I just want to add one more thing before we go to the appeal. If you filed in court and you got a judgment, let's say for January, and now it's already February, and the constable can come to the door and knock on the door and said you need to go out, and they pay even not to you, to the constable, the amount that they owe, even though maybe now they owe another month, it's all over and you need to start again. We know that, right?
So the case ends because they paid.
Because they paid. So
Right.
you need to do that in a pay and stay judgment. So in this case, he appealed before the time of the possession, which means before the 10th day after the judgment. 10 days after the judgment, if the amount haven't been satisfied, you, the landlord, can go to court and say the tenant haven't paid me yet, or haven't paid me the full amount according to the judgment yet, and I want to file for possession. And you do the second step. He did it on the 9th day.
Okay.
And he did it on the 9th day, and nobody knew about it. I haven't got a letter from him or from the Court of Common Pleas. I haven't got anything from the district court. I basically came and said, I'm here to file a possession. So I did that. I went to court. I filed for possession. I paid for the possession. And the next day, or a few days later, I think 2 days later, the constable himself called me, nice guy, I know him, and he said, we can proceed because there is an appeal,
Right. Okay.
which the district court wasn't aware of.
Okay.
Okay, so there was an appeal, and I started to investigate into what should I do in this case.
So I have a question for everybody actually.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy files an appeal. On what basis did he file his appeal?
So he appealed before the possession. He appealed the amount.
So
He claims...
So you say he owes you this much, and he said, I don't owe you this much.
Correct. Now, the funny thing is, we were in front of the judge for 15 minutes. The room was quiet, and the judge said, do you agree to this amount? And I put it on a paper, and I showed it to him, and I showed it to the judge, and the tenant was, I'm sorry for the word, but playing with his calculator on the phone because he had hard time to understand it. And we explained it to him, me and the judge, again and again and again, what the amount is.
Okay.
It was a bit weird because even the amount he paid for this month, I'm sorry, for the previous month, for December, he paid wrong. He paid less than the rent. And he said, I paid the rent, but we tried to explain to him, you didn't pay the rent. You paid partial of the rent.
Okay.
So it was
So
a bit weird.
So I'm curious, how much does he owe you according to that judgment?
$2,400, and that includes the filing fees.
So when he filed,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know about this. So when he filed, does he have to say, okay, it says I owe $2,400, but I really feel I owe $2,000, for
No.
example?
And this is it's good. So appeals are out of my wheelhouse. The appeals happen at common
Okay.
pleas court. I don't know if they have to put the exact reasoning or why, but you can say, look, I disagree with the money judgment amount. And maybe he does. Maybe you had the hearing. Maybe you felt it was that number. Maybe the judge felt it was that number. But maybe he disagrees with that.
So according to the affidavit they sign in the Court of Common Pleas, it's not that they appeal the amount, they appeal because they can't pay the amount. They sign
can't pay it.
Exactly. They sign
How
a
do you
document.
appeal because you can't pay it? That's bizarre.
I didn't get it either. You signed something very similar to what we saw during COVID, like the CDC declaration.
So like a hardship or something.
Yeah, I'm in hard time. I don't. My monthly income is less than the rent. I think there are a few more sentences there, and they sign it. I think the notary need to sign it too, and it's done. And then start the whole process with the appeal that I learned a lot about in the last few weeks.
You probably know more than me.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I don't do appeals. Once it goes up to common pleas, I guess you can argue a basis of hardship and financial. I don't know what you tell me. What did you find out?
So I found out that first they can file an appeal without putting the full judgment amount in an escrow. They can be in a position when they sign the affidavit that they put only third of the rent. But they have to complete the rest of the rent, full month rent, before 1 month ends, before 1 month of the time they file the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And that continue as long as the appeal continue. The other thing I learned is that if you file an appeal right now in the Court of Common Pleas, if I'm a tenant and I'm filing an appeal, I don't need to file any declaration. Me, the landlord, need to file the declaration. He basically appealed the judgment. He don't need to explain what he appeals, how he appeals, which is something that we both ask right now. Why do you appeal? What's the appeal is for? He don't need to. He basically signed the document, submit the appeal, and then I need to submit my declaration.
So he's stalling for time.
Basically.
And the system allows him to stall for time.
I'm happy. The system allows him to stall for time. I'm pretty sure it cost him money, which is to me ridiculous to put the money in an escrow instead of paying it to your landlord and stay in the house.
Yeah, right, sure.
Because now that you paid for lawyer, you paid for filing fees, you've been through all that, I think the chances is zero that you will allow the tenant to stay in the house.
Yeah, correct.
So why to be in this position?
So as soon as you win, which you're going to win,
Hopefully,
as long as
I
you
don't
do
know.
it,
We'll see.
you're going to immediately file for possession because he broke his lease.
So when the case will be discussed in the Court of Common Pleas, hopefully whenever, or the case will be dismissed, you can say, if one of the steps that needs to be filed won't be filed at time, it go directly back to the district court, and the district court can continue the possession process.
So now I'm curious. If you go to court for possession and you get possession, isn't he going to appeal that again?
He can. I'm not sure. So possession appeals are completely different. Possession appeals are extremely faster, and they call like an emergency appeal. And this is something different. And in a possession appeal, normally you don't need to do anything as the landlord. I experienced that in the past. It go in front of a judge in the Court of Common Pleas. He basically make a decision pretty fast. You get 10 more days or something like that. I couldn't hear that even from the Court of Common Pleas. I heard all those things in the past. I heard them from the constable. The constable told me and said, the Common Pleas judge decided to give him 10 more days. I said, okay, 10 more days. And that's it. And like you said before, it's to gain more time. But because this judgment is before the possession, there is no possession when he appealed, this takes more time, but it also obligates him, as long as it goes, to pay his rent every month. The problem for me is
you don't get the money.
The money doesn't go to me.
It goes to escrow, but eventually you get it.
Yeah, but I called my bank. I told them that the mortgage payment will go to an escrow, and I will give it to them one day, and they're okay with that.
Yeah, sure. No, but I know you're being sarcastic. You just don't sound enough. You don't sound so sarcastic.
I'm joking. Yeah, of course I'm joking.
You didn't sound sarcastic enough.
I know.
But so it's interesting how that goes. Now, we brought Ed in because we wanted his opinion on it, and we haven't even spoken to him about it yet.
Well, I think it's interesting because an actual case came out that I brought over, about a landlord-tenant appeal, but nunc-pro-tunc. So what
Oh,
nunc-pro-tunc?
I know what nunc-pro-tunc is. I got screwed on that.
I don't know what it means in English. I'm terrible at my
It means yesterday is today.
Yesterday's day. Basically allows you to appeal past the appeal period. And the interesting thing about this case, and went all the way up to the Superior Court, and eventually got thrown out, the person appealed nunc-pro-tunc, and there was a hearing on September 21st, 2022. On October 13th, 2022, she was served, or it was filed on the 21st. She served on October 13th, 2022. They have the hearing on October 19th. Altogether, I mean, the tenants told what the judgment is going to be. The judge actually said, look, there's going to be a judgment in their favor, blah, blah, blah. She appeals after the 10 days, and it goes through the system. They don't actually evict her, and they don't get the ruling until, I think, April of the next year.
Oh,
Of
wow.
2020
So,
on 2023.
2024. So it was filed in 2023 in like October, and I don't think this decision came down until probably April or May.
The non-proton is one of those tools that being massively abused, and I don't understand why
abused.
Well, I
It's
don't think it's
absolutely
abused.
abused.
I'm sorry, what?
It's absolutely abused.
it's abused.
But not in
people-
landlord-tenant.
So real quick, because I know everybody online is listening and they don't know exactly what non-pro-tunc is, and let me give you my experience with non-pro-tunc and how it works. So basically,
Maybe the judge
non-pro-tunc
will
says-
explain what it is.
Well, okay, you want to explain it?
Well, a nunc-pro-tunc is basically an allowance to file an appeal outside of the appeal period.
Right, but there's only 3 reasons.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's a test.
Right.
And the test from the PA Supreme Court is the appellant's notice of appeal was filed late as a result of a non-negligent circumstances, either as they relate to the appellant or appellant's counsel. So circumstances, I guess they explain, this is the reason why.
They were in the hospital,
Non-negligent,
something, yeah.
Appellant filed the notice of appeal shortly after the expiration date. So if you file 10, 13 days later, you might be able to creep it in. Okay, you were a little late. We'll give you some grace period.
That's
And the appellee was not prejudiced by the delay. So, I mean, those 3 factors are what they looked at in this. And by the way, the tenant lost. The nunc-pro-tunc got thrown out. They also never followed up on any motions, never came to court. I mean, it was clearly, to me, based on this case, a delay tactic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't see too many people filing nunc-pro-tunc appeals on landlord-tenants. I think that's pretty rare. Appeals happen.
happened to me twice
And
already.
that usually comes within the 10 days. And as a judge, I make it abundantly clear to both parties, even when we all agree on everything, and most of the time we all do, this is how much you owe, this is the deal. But I always tell them, if you want to change your mind, you got 10 days to do it.
So let me ask, so the nunc-pro-tunc, is that being filed by the tenant or is that being
Yeah.
filed by her lawyer?
Well,
Any person who want to file an
whatever,
appeal.
the party.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
any
party.
any side.
Because I wonder if she would even know about that. Like, how would she even know about nunc-pro-tunc? Like,
Well, what
I
usually
can answer that.
happens is they go into the court of common pleas. The common plea says, well, you're 5 days late, but we have this nunc-pro-tunc. So nunc-pro-tunc comes in a lot for traffic tickets.
okay.
It's a very big thing. You get a ticket, you forget about it, you didn't realize you got your license suspended. Next thing you know, you got a ticket from 3 years ago that's holding up your license for this or that. You want to fight. A lot of
That's called
nunc-pro-tuncs-
neglection.
There's neglect. There's improper service. You move for whatever reason, and
Okay.
for me, things get clogged up in the system. And my goal, if you have valid reasons to drive and you can drive, let's get them out on the road, and they pay all their fines and fees and costs. Nunc-pro-tunc's fine. It's a pain in the butt. Costs money to file a nunc-pro-tunc. Takes time. You got to go through the system. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is out there, sort of as I guess a stopgap or
Yeah.
just in case. But I don't see too many nunc-pro-tuncs I don't see any
Yeah.
in landlord-tenant.
Yeah.
But with I haven't heard of a nunc-pro-tunc in a landlord-tenant until I saw this case. I'm like, oh wow, yours isn't though. Your case, they filed an appeal on day 9.
Mine was a non-proton exactly a year ago with the same tenant.
The same one that you're going through appeal.
It's
Right?
Same.
not nunc-pro-tunc. He did the same exact thing last year,
The
and he
only
let the tenant stay.
yeah. So the only
And that was the mistake he
I
made.
will tell you why. The non-proton appeal was a day after the constable should evict them. The day after the constable should evict them.
Why didn't the constable evict them? Because an appeal would stop the eviction.
Correct.
If it's the day after, the eviction's done. So
No.
something's
They.
fouled up.
So I need to look at the file. You are completely right, actually, but I'm trying to figure out because what he appealed was at the time of the possession. He haven't appealed the judgment from the district court. That point, it was fast.
Well, that brings us
It was extremely
to a new.
fast.
I don't know when we have a break because we've got a couple new laws on the books pertaining to service and
That's
landlord-tenant. So,
All right. So let's do this. Why
Let's
don't we
put the phone number first because
get the phone.
I
So
guess
listen, so we're going to get back. So Judge Ed is going to talk to us about some of the new laws, which is pretty cool. Also, if you guys have any questions, you want to call in. It's funny. We do have some time, but it's always funny that everybody starts to call in 5 minutes before the show ends, and then they don't get their questions asked. So ask your
Correct.
questions.
Call
so
now.
what's the phone number, Omri?
how many times
Oh,
do you
can I
have
do
the
it?
ability to ask a judge a question? A judge that will also give you the phone number right now.
855-393.
No!
939.
939. Oh, yeah. 855-939-1135.
Forget it. You do the phone number, Omri. Nobody's
You
paying
do the
attention.
ting.
That's 855-939-1137. 855-939-1137. Call us with any question to us or to Judge Levine at 855-939-1137.
All right, let's go out for a break, and we'll see you in about 3 minutes. This is Larry Steinhouse with Investor Schooling. Do you know when the best time to buy investment properties is? It's now. It's always now. You just need to learn how to buy them correctly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this Thursday night and learn how to buy investment properties and make money every time. That's right. That's what we teach. We teach how to buy investment properties and make money every time. Go to investorschooling.com and RSVP right now. Take a class this Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
That's pretty
That's
good.
investorschooling.com.
So far, first half.
Yeah, you're good. You're
This
good.
is Larry
You're good.
Steinhouse.
We are awesome.
I was just
Investor
asking you
Schooling.
to-
You
to-
ready for
to-
retirement? Have you
Yeah,
prepared
yeah,
everything you
yeah.
need?
Once you get into
Investor
appeals,
Schooling
though,
will
I'm like,
teach you
oh,
ways
I
to
don't
better
know what
prepare for
goes
your
on out
retirement
there.
using real estate and the stock market. But
Hate
you
that
need to
stuff.
learn how to do it right. And that's what
Ramona's
we
like,
teach.
"Where's the
At
YouTube
Investor
link? I
Schooling, we
sent her
sell
the
nothing but
Facebook link.
education.
Oh my God.
Come to Investor Schooling and learn how to have a better
All right,
retirement.
we are also
Go
on
to
YouTube.
investorschooling.com
I'm curious if my
and
I told all my
RSVP right now
colleagues to
for this
listen,
Thursday's
so-
class at 7
Oh, yeah,
o'clock.
that's
Go
good.
to
They might have some insight
investorschooling.com.
I don't have.
That's investorschooling.com.
Glenn
We'll
is
have him
waiting for
call
the
in.
tow truck.
This is Larry Steinhouse with Investor Schooling. Don't go through life ignorant about how to become a millionaire. Learn how to invest in real estate, the stock market, precious metals, and learn from an expert. At Investor Schooling, we teach these things and more. We only provide education, and we will teach you how to leverage real estate, how to leverage the stock market, and how to leverage precious metals to make more money than you've ever made before. Go to investorschooling.com and take a complimentary class this Thursday. We will see you there. Investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
Investor Schooling.
This is Larry Steinhouse with Investor Schooling.
So
You
look
may
at that,
know me from my
Omri is
book,
very
Money
knowledgeable.
Hacks. Yeah, You may isn't it know me cool? from my I would read radio that later. shows.
I would hire
And you
him.
may even know me from some of these commercials. But listen, I'm teaching
Sexy
stuff
music.
that
What's
people
he
need to
knowledgeable
learn about
about?
money. In fact, my favorite topic court is money. system. So go to investorschooling.com and you will learn things about money that you never even knew
Oh.
existed. We will teach you things about real estate, about the stock market, and about how to use your IRAs properly. Go to investorschooling.com and sign up for a complimentary class this
He's
Thursday
right.
night at
He's
7
right.
o'clock.
It's the
That's
shirt.
investorschooling.com.
I know.
What?
This
you want
program
to
is
just
paid
read it
for
so
by
we can...
Investor Schooling.
Oh, wait.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Larry Steinhouse Show. I am Larry Steinhouse. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Deb Anderson, my other co-host, Omri Morad, also known as The Immigrant. And, of course, we have a special guest today. We have Judge Ed Levine, and he's talking to us about evictions. And Omri's been pretty knowledgeable about the appeal process. In fact,
I did some homework, yeah.
Ed's watching on I'm not sure what he's watching on. I think it's YouTube, and he said that Omri is very knowledgeable on this subject. I would hire him. Well, unfortunately, Omri's not a lawyer, so
Yeah.
you can't hire him. But you can hire. Can he be hired as a consultant?
You should hire a lawyer.
I mean, yeah, he can't represent him in
Right.
court, but he could be a consultant.
There
Why
you go.
not?
He could be a consultant. So if anybody wants to hire Omri as a consultant, to what's going to happen when you bring your tenant to court, he's available for that.
You know, I actually have a question on that, like about representing. So I have a friend of mine, and her husband was a disabled veteran, but and every time she tried to speak for him, they wouldn't let her speak in court because he didn't have a lawyer, and they didn't let her represent him, and he was just
She wouldn't let him.
I guess the court would not let her
Because
representing
there's
him.
an authorized representative form that you can fill out and say, "Hey, I'm a representative of this person. Or I'm with this person."
Yeah.
And
That's interesting.
yeah, I mean, because most of the people that come into court, especially on the landlord side, are management. It's not the attorneys. It's the building manager coming in. They're the authorized representative of the landlord or the person that owns the property. So yeah, you
So
should be able.
some judges require, especially if you're doing on behalf of somebody else, or even if you're doing it on behalf of your LLC that you're a member of, to sign like a document saying that you represent the LLC or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't do it. I guess it's how busy they are, but normally they should, right?
They should do it. I mean, the authorized. You should have that written down as the authorized representative
Yeah.
of the bill or the landlord.
So
Say
it,
if not, you could appeal it.
it wasn't a landlord-tenant case. I think it was like getting child support, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's probably a different ball game altogether.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring up the new laws. The new
Please do,
laws.
yeah.
So two new laws came into effect starting this year. Rule 506, changing the wording about service, which for about 24 hours, me and some of my colleagues were like, whoa, because when we got the notice of this in an email, they left out two of the key words. So the language is basically when you're serving for a landlord tenant, the officer, a constable, receiving the copy shall serve it by handing it to the tenant or to an adult person in charge for the time being of the premises in possession of which it's sought to be recovered, if found, and by posting it conspicuously on those premises.
This
And
is possession, or this is
No, anything.
This is for any. So you
Okay.
file a landlord tenant, you have to give notice
Right.
to the tenant. Now, the prior it was you serve it by first class mail, and a constable goes out and posts it on the door, and they're supposed to also knock on the door and check. But the language really didn't require that, and it's not an and thing, so it wasn't both. So my constables would go out, they'd knock on the door. If nobody showed up, okay. If somebody showed up, they get them to sign for, hey, I served this, I handed this to you. But if not, they would tape it on the door, like right where it opens, so you definitely see it. For 24 hours, we didn't see the and effect. So we thought service was going to be first class mail, posted on the door, and serve the tenant. Well, that would be very difficult because a lot of times the tenants aren't home. You can't.
Yeah,
fire
the
them.
child opened the door and said,
Child's-
Daddy is not home.
Well, no, nobody's home. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times tenants
During
aren't
the
home.
day,
They're
sure.
working. They're living. Now the requirement is if found. So it basically is saying to the constables, try to find this tenant if you can. You know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know. I don't know what the proper amount of time is for a constable to see if they're found. But it always helps to know if somebody's there and hand them the thing. Now, it might not be the tenant. It might be the mother of the tenant. It might be somebody else who's living there. So the other interesting thing in the new law that came out is Rule 513.1, which provides for intervention. So now we can have what's called an intervener, which is interesting for the landlord. So basically, a person can petition to be, I guess, put on the lease, be part of the lease or part of an intervener in the process. So it's somebody you didn't know was living there who's living there and is basically assuming the role of the tenant. And they can actually come in for the hearing and be listed as one of the parties. You know, they can go in front of the judge. I mean, there's a whole system.
Even though my lease mentioned,
He's not on the lease. The person's not on the lease.
yeah,
So I'm suing Debbie for possession or
And-
non-payment of rent, and you're living there. She can't make it. You're living there. You show up.
that's in my case, in my lease, it's basically an approval of default. Because every grown-up who lives on the lease and live in the premises, and to me, leaving the premises is they live there for over 2 weeks consistently.
Well, that's you. See, what
They need
this
to be in the
does
lease.
is this is the actual person living there wanting to be added. So they can file to say, hey, I'm living there too. I want to be kind of put on the lease. Without being put on the lease, the court's actually letting them be the person now that's also responsible
Wow.
for the land. So
So wait, I'm a little confused. This is a person going to court and saying, "Hey, put me on the lease."
Yeah.
Or this is a person saying you're about to evict the person that I'm living
Well,
with.
it could be that too. Hey, put me on the lease. You're about to evict them, and I guess intervening to help maintain the place or pay the rent or whatever. So you have to finally, the person has to do. So let's say constable goes to the door and they knock on the door. Instead of Dr. Deb, Omri opens the door, and Omri finds out, oh shoot, we could get evicted.
Okay.
Then he would have to go to the court, timely file before the hearing that he wants to be an intervener. There's a form. The requester is a tenant of the landlord. Well, he's averring. As soon as he signs a piece of paper averring or saying, in truth, I'm one of the tenants, the length of the time they've lived there, so I've lived there a month or 2 months, whom they've paid rent to the property to. So maybe he's given money to you or whatever I've been paying to this landlord, and whether the requester is party to the lease or the property with the landlord. He avers that he is, or he knows about the lease, but he's not on the lease. And then that gets served to the landlord. So they're made aware, like, oh, Omri's saying he wants to intervene. He wants to be a part
You
of
know what
this.
I would do? I'd call the guy up and say, here's the new lease. Here's the lease.
You could do that.
Sign it in a second. Why wouldn't I now have a second party who's responsible?
But then you have a hearing.
But it doesn't have to be a second party. That's the problem. That's, to me, sound like a squatter's heaven.
Not a squatter.
I'm sorry, I have a tenant, the tenant listed on the lease. Do they have to agree to this scenario?
Does the tenant?
No, I don't think you understand
No.
what
My
you're saying.
original
You're not-
tenant.
you're not-
Omri, what you're saying is someone's not on the lease, and they could ask to be put on the lease.
I understand.
But
The
I
person
wouldn't do
that
the
is-
opposite. I'm not doing the opposite.
The
You guys
person-
live together, and you guys are on the lease together.
Thank
and
you.
then somebody wants to go to court and say, "Hey, I want to be removed from the lease because I don't live there anymore."
That's not my
when
example.
the lease renews, we can do that. But
Correct.
until then, I ain't doing that.
Yes, but
Yeah.
But to add somebody on the lease, I got somebody else I could take to court. No problem.
Yeah.
Larry, think about that for a second. You have a lease with A, and A was paying and everything was fine, and one day you were there and you figure out that A is not there. You have no idea where A is.
Okay.
B is there right now, and B is not paying you. So according to the new law, B can ask to be part of the lease.
Sure.
But if B is not part of the lease, me as a landlord can be in a big problem.
But if
Well,
he's not
what
paying
now?
anymore?
But there is a tenant who's not there, but there is a lease agreement, and there is a. I don't know who this third person is.
Yes, correct.
I mean that could get tricky, but he still has. Hey, I'm filing against the tenant. The tenant's not showing up. I'm going to get possession, and then he will get possession of the property. I would assume that third person would have to get out too. They're not even part of the lease to begin with.
But the problem, I don't have a lease with this
No,
this
but
person.
I think you're looking at it backwards.
Could be.
Okay, if the guy, if somebody's, if I have a tenant in there, right?
Yeah.
And somebody else is living with them, and this tenant, even if that tenant moved out and the other person is living there, the original tenant is still responsible for the lease.
Correct.
The other guy says, "Hey, I've been giving her money or giving him money, and she's not paying you, but I don't want to be evicted. I'll take care of the problem. I want to be added to the lease, not substitute the tenant. I
Okay.
want to be added, so now there's two tenants.
And
that
I have
are
to
responsible.
add him to the
So
list.
now, as soon as they say, "Yeah, great," now I take both tenants to court. Oh, I have the opportunity to take both tenants to court. If only one shows up, the judgment goes against both of them.
Yeah, basically,
I'm okay with that. I think it's great.
if the requester is added to the case as a tenant, he or she may be liable for any judgment entered in favor of the landlord, including property damage, back rent, court costs,
Yeah.
and fees, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think, okay, well, this is a way to
Yeah,
get
sure.
that third person who wasn't on the original lease, who's part of it now, part of paying it, part of living there, to be a part of the lease. I think it just fosters better communication. And
I think
and
it's
just,
great for the landlord. The only thing, there's only one problem I have with that. So they leave, right? Everything's fine. I put the new person on the lease. They leave, and everything's fine. Now I have a security check that's supposed to go back to everybody on the lease. So do I write the check out to both parties, or do I write the check out to the original party?
Who paid the check? Only the first
no,
party.
No, it doesn't work that way. The lease dictates who's the security deposits for. So now I have an issue where who do I send the check back to?
I would think you'd revert back to the original lease.
You would, but now all of a sudden,
You have this
now
intervener.
The other person says, "Hey, half of that money was mine," and I don't know where that goes.
Well, I would say that's an argument between those two.
Most likely.
And go to court on that one.
Most
You want to
likely.
fight with your former roommate or
But
whatever.
what do I
go
want
for
to do? Do I want to send it to the first person? Or do
I
want
would
to
send it to the first
I tell you
person
what
on the
I would
lease.
do. I would send a check with both names on it.
That's what I would do. That's
Yeah,
funny,
I would.
That's exactly what I would do.
I would
but that's what I would do.
I
too.
would send a check
With both names on the lease.
with both names. Exactly. But what happened if this person, and maybe that was the confusion from my side, what happened if this person, the second person, is in the house, they come to court and they say, because basically I didn't get my rent money, maybe for a month or two, I go to court, and for the first time in court, in front of the judge, I see this person, and I say to the judge, I don't know who this person is. And this person say, I'm your new tenant. Nice to meet you. What
Okay.
should I do in this scenario?
Well,
I
if they-
basically, exactly,
Shake his
I
hand and say, hey,
welcome.
if you pay,
Yeah, exactly.
you can stay.
I basically
To me,
have
that's
to
fantastic.
accept them.
To me, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Assuming this person goes in and files and says, I want to be an intervener and I want to be put on this lease through this intervener law, good for the landlord.
All
And
right,
it's-
I want to go back to the other rule that you were talking about because I think I'm a little confused on that one. Do you need to do both things, where you need to plaster it on the door and send it certified?
Yeah,
or
well, not
One.
certified, first class mail,
first class? Okay.
and posted on the door, and if found, served. If found. If it's not found, you post it on the door.
So basically, what's happening? The constables were lazy. There we go. Knock, knock, knock. Stick by. So now they're saying you got to knock, 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 and wait for an answer. Wait for somebody to respond.
No, you should try to wait for an answer. You're not required to wait for
Well,
an answer.
you don't knock on the door, post it, get in your car, and drive away. And by
Well,
the time the door opens,
clearly.
that's probably what was happening.
But it's not requiring you to wait for somebody to answer the door. It's just saying give it a try. If
Right.
found, if you
a reasonable time.
now,
a minute,
what
2
is the
minutes.
reasonable time? I don't know. Some judges would say they want their constables to wait 10 minutes. Some would say 5. I don't know what that is.
So
it depends
is this
on your
rule for the
constable.
constable then, or it's for the landlord? Because I know when I did the eviction, I would actually send it certified mail, and then I would post it on the door.
So you're talking about another thing.
Okay.
You are talking about your obligation, according to your lease, to give the
Notice to
the
quit.
tenant the notice. That's
Yeah,
something
you're talking
called
10 days notice to quit, which is different. He's talking about when you go to court and you file, the court system now sends them a letter, voicemail, and also sends a constable out.
and that's to the tenant, not to you.
Okay.
For
You get
you,
a copy, but
for you, it's acceptable to just serve you with a regular mail.
Okay.
Not serve you, notice you the hearing and all that in regular mail.
All right.
The tenant has to be served, and this has to be by hand,
court.
by stick.
Okay, so
yeah,
it's the court. This is a new law for the court for whoever is serving the tenant to say, "Hey, you're okay."
Yes.
All right, that's what I was unclear on. Okay.
And all it did was essentially add if found. That's all it did.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
really, it doesn't do much.
yeah, right.
But I think it fosters the other rule, the 513.1, which is an intervener, because, okay, if the constables are actually making the effort to knock on the door and they open it and this intervener is there, wow, the intervener's like, oh, I didn't know you were behind on the rent. I want to help you make sure this doesn't happen. I think that's sort of the point of this, to make sure you get a boyfriend or something, he's helping you out. He gets in there on
Yeah.
the lease. It helps the landlord, too.
Now, is this Pennsylvania wide? This law?
Pennsylvania wide,
Pennsylvania wide.
January 1st.
Okay, Pennsylvania wide.
So I find it interesting that no one has called. You have
Yeah.
a judge here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have properties and you have an eviction problem, or you're not sure what to do, or you're not sure, if you think the system is rigged, and you want to talk to the judge and say, hey, how come you guys always favor the tenants? You should be calling. I mean, it's like,
What's the
it
number?
amazes me. See, to me as a landlord, this show is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Today's show is fascinating, but to some people it might be, hey, we just like the banter between Omri, Dr. Deb, and Larry. We want to hear some more of that.
No.
Every once in a while, we do a serious show. I'm sorry if you guys have a problem with that. If you know, why don't you call? What's the phone number, Omri?
That's 855-939-1137. Please call us at 855-939-1137.
You heard it in my ears.
My boy
Sorry.
Steve wants a shout out. I'm like, well, are you going to call? So, Steve, you get a shout out.
Yeah,
I'm sure
everybody-
somebody from Lansdale Cannoneers is listening. You guys get a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping one of my judges I know is listening. He says I'm hysterical and that I'm the best looking of all of us. So I'll take that. Thank you. But he's a dude. So what does that mean for me?
Oh.
I
I
don't.
told you you're gay.
Yeah.
He's not.
I didn't say I was the best looking. He said I was the best.
Well, we did get a letter from somebody, a jailbird, the other day. I got that notice.
Yes.
Oh my God!
No, I'm serious. No,
You're appealing. You're appealing to convict.
Stop. No. I think it was like a couple days ago. Larry forwarded me an email, and it was the mother of her, and her son is incarcerated, respectfully requesting a book. Please. He loves listening to you. Blah blah blah. He loves you guys.
Oh, look at you, Larry. You're hot with the jail population.
You're hot with the jail.
It must be something about me because we actually we've had several people. I think what it is there's a local jail. I think it's a New Jersey jail that plays this radio station in their jail, and that's why.
That's pretty cool.
Shout
out to the
but
jail.
those people can't call.
jail.
They can only write because they're not allowed to call.
Yeah, and then they were nice enough to spell Omri as Amari, which I thought was hysterical. Because everybody always gets Omri's name wrong. So it's all good.
All right, so we got a few more minutes with the judge. Actually, we have the second.
We got another
half of
hour
the show too. We have the other.
The only problem I see here, you know what? We keep discussing that on the second hour. I think it will be great, but I want to tell you something, Judge. Many times, and I did this before, the problem with serving is you never know what happened if you will get your house and where the tenant is going to go to. I normally call the tenant and ask, hey, I needed your address for the security deposit check. Doesn't mean I'm sending them, but I'm asking for their forwarding address because you never know. Because I can be in a point that I will get my house, it will be a possession. When I open the door, I will start to cry. And I was in this position. So what I do right now, if I am 90%, I know that there is damage to the house, I file a court case for the damages a week before the possession. Why I do that?
Wait.
How can you possibly do that? How can you get in the house?
I don't.
So how
You're
are you
assuming
filing
there's going to be
damage?
damage?
If I know there is a damage, and I know I will need to look at this damage, to price this damage, I want to be in a position that I can sue the tenant for this damage, I have to be in a position that the tenant would be served. How can someone serve the tenant if the tenant already moved out?
So what you just said you can't do, but I'm going to tell you what you can do. This is a trick that I do all the time.
Why you can do I'm sorry. Can I do TBD in the complaint?
No, but I want to hear what Larry. I want to hear his trick.
Okay,
I like this.
And just to get back to what you're trying to do, you can't do. We have a judge. We have Judge Doug on. Hey, Judge Doug, what's happening?
Oh, are you still there?
We are here. We can hear you.
Oh, great.
So,
Hi, everybody.
so you're not going to give your last name because you don't want anybody to know who you are.
I know who he is.
Yeah, he knows who I am. And I just want to be clear, I'm not the judge that said that Ed was the good-looking one.
Thank you.
So you agree with me? You agree with me that he's gay too, huh?
Oh.
But I did have a question for him, my other colleagues, if they're listening. I know that one of the immigrant, the co-host, was saying that he's seen somebody multiple times. I'm just curious if Judge Levine has any thoughts on whether or not he treats each individual landlord-tenant complaint as an individual within a vacuum, or he takes into account that it's a case where you've seen these parties multiple times. They pay up, then they fall behind. They pay up, they fall behind. They've appealed.
I hope you do.
You treat it in a vacuum. That's my question.
Great question.
The chronic late payers are always interesting because it's the landlord that allows them to be chronic.
That is correct.
And quite often in my district, because I do have a lot of landlord tenants, they renew them. And I almost say to the landlord, you knew what you were getting into. Yeah. A lot of the chronics actually don't even show up to the hearing. They know the deal. They know they're going to pay the filing fees. They know they've got the late fees. It's insane because these tenants that are chronic end up paying $3,000 to $4,000 more a year, probably more than that, in late fees and filing.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I know. And
I'm fine with that. As a landlord,
So
I don't care.
I love getting late fees, but I don't want to chase people.
Thank you. That's the problem.
That's the problem. The problem is, like, on the first I look up, I know my rent. I'm like, great. Then I got to wait to the 5th. Then the 5th, they don't pay their rent. And I'm like, oh, no, I got to send them text messages and emails. And it's so annoying. And I just like, and sometimes I'm like,
you just
You're
finished.
going to pay me $150 more Because you didn't pay your rent on time.
See, but you're an individual guy,
Yeah.
and you've got all these balls you're juggling and things you do. These corporate ones, these property managers, this is what they get paid.
Exactly.
They pay a manager to
Yes.
do it.
Yep.
And they will keep renewing quite often.
And it's
sometimes they don't,
It's,
but a lot
it's
of times
not
they
true.
do.
You pay extra for the management company
Yeah.
when they go to court, when they do all that. So it's an interest for the management company because I'm pretty sure they have some commission there. It's
sure, yeah.
for sure, exactly. There is a benefit for the management company to do that and then to say, let's keep the tenant.
But on I think Doug's asking, do I have a bias or something once I know a lot of the regulars I don't even know. I'm like, oh, have you been here before? Yeah. Oh, didn't know. I don't remember because I get so many of them.
Right, and we had talked about this before. You and I have talked about this over a drink, that if I ever came to your courtroom again, because I was bringing a tenant there, would you be able to be objective? And, we both agree you can, and I believe that that's true. I may have a tougher time giving my case because I know you, but that's all.
But the tenants you tend to remember are really these crazy ones where they're doing some severe damage and just the communication is just out of control. Nobody's on the same wavelength. You remember those ones. Most of these non-payment ones, everyone's on the same page. They want to pay. They get behind.
They
for
don't
whatever
want to.
reasons.
Yeah, they don't
they
want
don't
to be
want to
kicked
not
out.
pay.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
You just finished a big renovation, okay, in one of your houses.
Yeah.
Would you rather keep the tenant in?
Of course I want to keep the tenant in.
Would
I
you
wanna
rather keep the tenant in if the tenant wouldn't pay? Would you
If they wouldn't pay, I want them out as soon as possible.
you wouldn't rather rehabilitate the tenant?
No.
You can't. You they either pay or they don't. There's no
no.
such thing as rehabilitation. Now, could a tenant be late once or twice, and that to me that's fine. But if a tenant is consistently late, I'm sorry, they're getting their 10-day notice to quit.
Rents are up, but also labor and materials are up. So to me, to bring the house for the new tenant the way I want that they will accept the house, that they will receive the house from me,
Yeah.
it will cost me so much.
So,
And I
hold on.
think that's the problem. That's why sometimes you need to swallow your ego and say, you know
So,
what?
As usual,
Yeah.
we have all the callers calling in the last 5 minutes. So,
But we still got another hour.
no, but we have to end the show.
Okay.
So it's just the way we do it. I know it's a little
Sure.
bit different. Okay, but hold on one second. Judge Doug, are you a municipal court or are you a court of common pleas?
Municipal.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Okay, so do you have any other questions for us or for Judge Levine?
No, thank you guys.
All right,
Thanks
we
for-
totally
Thank you for
appreciate-
calling.
And we appreciate you. And
Yes.
one day when I'm in front of your court too, remember me, and I'll give you an autograph.
By the way, Doug is a first-time, short-time caller. I guess he's
First
never
time-
listened, and is his first
I
time
know
call.
exactly. Do you like the show so far, Judge?
It's been great. It's really eye-opening, and I like the banter. It is something to listen to.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Come see us at Investor Schooling. This is a show that we're supposed to be selling investor schooling. So go to investorschooling.com and show up. And if we like you, we'll even have you speak. The way we have judges sometimes come by and speak.
2 judges are better than 1.
But let me do this. I got to go too. I got another caller. So what's going on, Lauren?
Hey, Larry and Debbie and Dr. Deb, I'm sorry, and Omri and Judge.
Hey,
All
Lauren,
you
how are you?
beautiful people. How are you doing?
What's happening?
Oh, this is just perfect. This is perfect timing. I went through a nightmare situation. I mentioned it on our call this morning.
Yeah, I heard. Right, sure.
And so basically now it's at the point where, how do you keep? We had $3,000 security deposit,
Right.
but how do you keep a tenant from using it for their last month's rent?
You don't.
Yeah.
That's why I clicked last month. That's why I clicked first month, last month, and 1 month security.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing.
Lauren, every time
But
the
it
tenants
never
say, take it out of my security, I say, no chance. The security stay
tried.
full,
I
the
tried.
security stay intact until I get the property back. Okay?
Yeah.
And you need to remember another
Right.
thing. You can use security for rent. You can't use last or prepaid rent
You can't
for
use
security.
for rent.
You can.
No, you
Right.
can as the landlord.
Yeah, correct.
But
Correct.
but the tenant can't.
Larry corrected me if I wasn't clear. It's true. You can use as the landlord the security for unpaid rent. You can't use the rent for any repairs or any unpaid bill.
Okay. So
Right.
so I wanted to say something before
Totally.
because when Judge Doug called,
Yeah.
I was in the middle of explaining something to you,
Sorry.
which was how. And listen to this too, Lauren, because this will be a good one for you. So you have a security deposit that you took originally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're evicting the tenant.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the tenant they're always the same thing. Like, how can I get something free? How can I get some of my money back? How can I get free money?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you evict the tenant, you send them a text message. Hey, I'm really sorry I had to evict you. Listen, there might be some security deposit left.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you like me to send it? And then guess what they're going to give you?
Their new
The
address.
forwarding address.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's
they will. Normally they
Right.
won't.
But they know they might because, like, there might be some security deposit.
yeah.
And if they give you the forwarding address, great. Same thing I do when they
Yeah.
leave. I send them a text message. It used to be a letter. Now it's a text message. And I say, hey, if they leave, but here's another thing you never do. Never go inspect the property the last day the person's leaving. I don't. You guys know that I don't have any keys to my places. I only have keys. I give the tenant the keys, and they have to give me back the keys.
Mm-hmm.
I do that for security, and I do it most importantly because I tell them I don't have a key. So if I have a repairman coming, you have to be home. All right. So then I say, listen, either leave the key under the mat or mail me the key, whatever. I will inspect the place after you leave. Now, most of the tenants, what they want to do. They want the last day they're there. They want you to walk through the building and give them a
Give them
report.
the
'cause
money
they want to know
back.
if they can get
Yeah.
the security back.
I never
I'm
do
not
that.
doing it. I'm
No.
definitely not doing it.
Of course.
All right, look, unfortunately we only got about 30 more seconds. Lauren, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
And if you have more questions, please call us again.
Call us in the next show. All right, we got to go from here. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank the Judge Doug, for calling in. Of course, I want to thank Judge Ed Levine for being here today. I want to thank my co-host for being here. It's awesome. And of course, I want to thank Frank Canale, who's substituting for Glenn Page, because Glenn Page is stuck
On Route
somewhere on Route 1. Anyway, if you want to go to investorschooling.com, you can learn more about becoming a landlord. You can learn more about buying properties. Go to investorschooling.com, and we will see you guys this Thursday night.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of Investor Schooling.
do.
We do another, but we act like we did.
I told you. No,
Exactly.
the weird part is we have to end the show. Yeah. So you guys are online. Just hang out there, and we'll be starting the show again.
Remember to
Why do they do that? That doesn't make
And
any
so
sense.
the real reason is they have to break up the show into 2 hours because sometimes they play them as an hour repeat.
Okay. When do
Tune
they
in tonight starting at
Oh.
7 p.m. for the Bob
you
Pantano
want to
always on
Saturday Night
Saturday.
Dance Party.
Or
Live
do they
from
play these
Adelphia
during
in
the week
Deptford.
at all?
The Bob
If you wanna
Pantano
listen
Saturday
tomorrow at
Night
3
Dance
o'clock,
Party is broadcast exclusively
PHD, you
on
can listen to the whole
98.1
day.
HD2 and Bob
Both
Pantano
hours?
Dance Party Radio
No.
on the
Maybe
No,
Bob
one.
Whatever
Yeah.
hour we pick.
Barlow Chevrolet.
Most likely it'll be that
You'll
hour,
hear the
depending on
radio
if this
ads
show's
about the
better, then I'll
IRS.
tell them to
They
do
tell
I
it.
can
you to be
fart on the
afraid,
air if you
be
want.
Scared, and they try to frighten you
that's
to
the
call.
better hour.
I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate
Good
or
show. I like
reduce
it.
what you
Me
owe
too,
to
it was-
IRS. Generous
Exactly.
programs are now available that can
That's
give
what's
you
so good
a
about
fresh
it.
start.
Now I'll have
Our
a little more
passion
fun,
is
maybe.
taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS
Well, we're getting
problems.
calls,
We have over
which is
1,000
good.
five-star reviews on Google and
Absolutely.
an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the
I like the
IRS
calls.
any longer. And your
The
tax
calls are the
nightmare
best.
I thought
today
Lauren
by
might be
visiting us
one of my
online
managers.
At TRA.com
I know Lauren.
or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
College sports hold a mythic place in American culture. But sometimes the drama off the court overshadows the action on it.
So Lauren, you can call back if you want to. I see your post, or we could talk. We'll talk about it.
I'm
she hear
Margot
you?
We'll talk about it
Red.
next show.
On the new
We'll talk about it
podcast,
next show.
Campus Files,
How
we
can she
cover
hear you?
everything,
Huh?
including some
we're
of the
still
biggest
streaming.
scandals
She-
in
she's-
college
Oh.
sports. Listen
Yeah,
to
she's-
and follow Campus
hello,
Files,
Facebook
an
world.
Odyssey original
Oh.
Yeah,
podcast.
there's a whole bunch of
Available
stuff going on
now
here that you
the
might not
free
have
Odyssey
thought.
app and
See
wherever
the
you get your
replies?
podcasts.
There's Lauren Billings.
Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
Joey
Sweet.
You might see it there better.
Yeah, like on the radio can't hear us, but if they're on Facebook or on YouTube, they can hear
Yeah,
us.
they can hear. The radio can't hear us right now, but Facebook can, YouTube
I
can.
ask all of our guests this. A lot of it
So
has
if you
to
want
do
to say
with being a
anything,
child
you
of
know,
the 80s
you can say
and
anything you
loving
want.
Lauren's in
Rambo and loving
Tampa?
Commando, and I just
No,
wanted to be that guy.
James
I
went
found
to
out
Tampa to
later
look
how
at
much
3
it is really a
units.
team sport, and those
3 unit
All
building.
right, hold on, guys. We got
Real
30
quick,
seconds.
You can call us, of
Thank
course,
you.
about it.
Donation. Also, since I heard you're a Giants fan, thank you for Saquon Barkley. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
You got
Thanks,
it.
everyone.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of Investor Schooling or their guests and do not reflect the opinions of WPHT or Odyssey.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Auto Group Studios, experience the power of one with 8 brands and 25 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. The Larry Steinhouse Show.
All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome back to the Larry Steinhouse Show. That's right, we're broadcasting from Investor Schooling headquarters right here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I am Larry Steinhouse and I am the CEO of Investor Schooling, and I'm here to make financial education fun and accessible for everyone, including you and even Omri.
Thank you.
And even Dr. Deb, and even you listening. Anyway, on this show, we discuss several ways of making more money. We concentrate on real estate investing, stock options trading, the stock market, and how to maximize your retirement fund. And you could call us anytime about anything. You can call us about the stock market. You can call us about real estate. You can talk about politics. It doesn't matter. You can call about anything that's on your mind. And the phone number is
855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137.
Correct. That's the right number.
No, you do it now.
855-939-1137.
Good.
InvestorsSchooling.com.
there you go. For you guys who don't know who that is, that's Judge Ed Levine. We have him as a special guest. We had him in the prior hour. He's continuing to be here because I think we're going to buy you a pizza afterwards, right?
That would be nice.
Okay, we're going to buy him pizza afterwards.
I'd be
so
into
if you
that.
guys want to, if anybody wants to meet us, should we tell them?
Nah.
We probably shouldn't tell them where we are. Because they might it might be somebody that doesn't like
It might
you.
be a mob scene.
No,
It might be somebody you evicted that might show up.
I'm not sure it's someone who don't like him.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
see that
sure
point
we are
there.
more in a risk.
Of course, we're also live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And please leave us a comment to say hello, so you know you're watching. We got Kimmy saying hi. We got Lauren saying hi. We got a whole bunch of people saying hi that I haven't even mentioned yet. We got Ed saying hi. We got a bunch of people, a long line of people saying hi. All right, the Larry Steinhouse Show also is brought to you by Investor Schooling. At Investor Schooling, we teach you things about money I bet you never knew. We focus on practical learning, and we will equip you with real-world skills in real estate investing, stock options, tax-saving tips, and the secret to financial freedom. Our headquarters is right here in Bucks County, but our online courses teach eager investors across the country. RSVP for a free class this Thursday night at
InvestorSchooling.com.
Repeat the last line.
InvestorSchooling.com.
Repeat the last line.
The last line.
Yeah, some people got that joke, but that's an old joke.
What's the repeat the last line?
Something that, like when Biden was reading from the teleprompter, he was supposed to repeat the last line. So the people who put in the teleprompter, they put in the words "repeat the last line." And
Yeah, but you should put it inside. Yeah.
And he read "repeat the last line."
Okay.
I just, I got to tell you that out of all the things that that Biden did, that one I don't even think it's that bad because that's a mistake by the teleprompter person.
Yeah.
They should have never put that in there. But I just thought it was funny that anyway, that I'm reading the teleprompter and this is going nowhere. So quickly change the topic before I get myself.
Yes, please change.
Let's get back on track.
Back on track.
I also want to say that we have Ed Levine here again. So Judge Ed Levine is a Montgomery County judge, and he's pretty much our favorite judge. And he comes on here about twice a year and talks about evictions, talks about judges,
new rules,
talks about new rules. We talked about that in the last show. We talked about new rules,
fun cases.
Yeah. You have any fun cases to talk about? I know it's kind of hard for you to do it without breaking confidentiality. But if you could give us a general, it'd be great.
Well, I think I don't actually want to talk about cases. If I can talk about anything off of the landlord-tenant riff, it's one of the things that we do as judges, which is a very difficult thing to do, which is setting bail. And there's a lot of misconception among the public because
this is for a criminal case.
Yeah, we set bail.
No, I know, but so this is interesting. So
I'm not telling a story. I'm just telling you.
No. I'm going to go with the hypothetical. So somebody comes into you and they say they stole an iPad out of somebody's car, right? And the iPad's worth about $700.
Yeah.
Right, and they were caught.
Yeah.
By now the person who owns the iPad has already gotten it back. And I'm not saying that the person who stole it, doesn't deserve to be punished. I do, but how do you set bail for somebody like that?
Well, see, you're jumping way ahead.
Okay.
Somebody's been accused of something. So
Correct.
all we know is an iPad's been stolen.
Okay.
Somebody's accusing someone of stealing the iPad. The police arrest that person based on the accusation and the evidence they have.
But it doesn't mean they got it back.
We don't even know.
Okay. It probably doesn't even matter actually when I think about it, because you could literally have the person have the iPad in their hand when the cop arrests them, and they say, yeah, this is evidence that they stole it.
Okay.
I would imagine the person.
So then it would come in front of a judge, because the judge, what we do when we do arraignments, and the way it works in Montgomery County is a judge does the whole county once a month for one day. And what we do is say, hey, this is what you're charged with, and we tell them what they're charged with and what the maximum fines and penalties could be, and then we set their bail. And the way it works in Montgomery County is if they're brought into the county prison, MCCF, and they get interviewed by pretrial services. So what they do is they kind of determine how much money they're making, what their domestic situation is, how often they've missed, how many times they've been charged with things before, what their prior history is, all sorts of stuff. And then they talk to a public defender, and then what I do is a DA says, well, Dr. Deb stole this. This is her 5th time stealing something. She never shows up to court. We want $5,000 secured because she'll never show up. Or they'll say Dr. Deb's never stole anything before and she's never been in front of us. Unsecured bail. That the PD and the DA a lot of times will argue about what they think bail should be, and then I have to decide what should bail be. I think my point in raising this topic is a lot of people on the social media world read an affidavit and they almost inevitably assume guilt before innocence, which is actually counter to the Constitution, because you are actually innocent before being guilty. And also what they don't understand is a lot of times there are agreements between the DA and the PD. There are conditions that usually aren't listed in the paper. So sometimes there are criminal activities where people are like, oh, that guy should be sitting in jail and this and that. And if convicted, they will be. But bail, you're really looking at A, will they show up? And B, is there a harm to the community? And
so when you say harm to community, you mean obviously a murder would be horrible, but everything on the surface looks like I used the wrong one, but everything on the surface looks like this person's going to defend themselves. They're going to show up.
Yeah.
I guess maybe
it's a theft of an iPad.
Self-defense case would be a great one for murder. Self-defense case. Now, do you go there and do you?
Well, self-defense is a defense. I mean, homicide usually is no bail, regardless of.
So they're going to be in jail.
They're going to be in jail based on that. That's a homicide. And those are very rare. But you can have domestic violence cases.
Yeah, sure, I can see
and
that.
Things like that, which are difficult because you get into a fight with your girlfriend. Do you give secured bail? All of a sudden, you have a kid together. You're the breadwinner. Now, maybe you will be found guilty. Maybe it was pretty egregious, and eventually you will get jail time. Maybe you won't. I don't know. I just have to figure out, should you be sitting in jail before you're even convicted?
No, but on the other hand, if this is the case, you don't want... I'm sorry, I will use an example. You don't want a guy that hit his wife to go back home.
Course,
exactly.
Right.
And
there's other things you could do, too, like a... whatever protection. So there's all kinds of things you can do for that.
There's a lot of nuance. There's always nuance. There's always factors that. My point is, when you read about cases in the paper, you're basically only hearing the affidavit, which is really only the one side of things that the police put in their affidavit. They only hear the one thing from the victim, so you don't get the whole story. And we do these arraignments. I wish people could watch us doing arraignments.
Because
you learn a lot.
Yeah. So I had a case. and I'm going to get to that in a second. We actually have a caller. I can't
Yeah.
tell who it is. Do we have a caller online?
DF, no?
What's your name?
Hi, Larry.
Yeah, what's your first name?
Larry, it's CF.
He
said S.
Yeah,
it's D.
That's
It's
hysterical.
D. It's D.
That's hysterical because it was funny because it said caller. It was actually they wrote DS instead of
I
DF.
know, DF,
So
correct.
it's D. So D, do you want to tell everybody who you are?
Larry, I am I'm one of your students, and I'm calling live from one of my recently acquired investment properties.
Okay,
Yeah,
right, but you don't want to talk about because we were just talking about arraignment. Well, it might be interesting.
We can move on to investment property.
But it might be interesting because of what he does. But if he doesn't want to talk about it, I'm okay with it. Let's just go right to the investment property.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, Larry. I do have the legal and law enforcement background there, but I really wanted to just say hello and just kind of share with you my experience here with respect to this most recently acquired investment property.
Awesome, man. Let's do it.
So this property was acquired, made an offer on it last week, settled on it yesterday, in it today, changed the locks yesterday. I'm in it with my cleaning crew now, and it's one of those properties that you could make a TV show out of on American Pickers. It's a completely packed house on estate.
I love it.
And the fun part of it is just kind of going through and seeing the cool stuff that you could possibly also flip for a profit in addition to the potential of the house itself. But just wanted to kind of say hello.
Awesome, man. So you've been a student about a month, and I remember. So one of the things that's interesting, we have this all the time, and people come in, and they come in, they talk about they come in Thursday night, they learn something, then they come back Monday and they sit through a mastermind, and on Monday we talk to them about becoming a student. So every once in a while we have somebody skeptical. Would you say D was one of the more skeptical people?
Yes.
So
I think there's no question there.
It took D a while. Like he was like, I mean, we had to answer 1,500 questions and another 1,500 questions, and then finally like, I think I'm going to do this. And then, like, he hesitantly took his credit card out of his wallet. Like, I don't know, maybe. And finally, he became a student. Now, would you, anybody who's been skeptical about even just showing up for free, what would you tell them?
Well, just show up. And what you'll experience is you'll find yourself immersed in a community of success-oriented people. And that alone is worth the value of the membership, because now all of a sudden you have access to people that are doing the same things that you want to do, and the stuff that you used to think was very difficult to do or too risky, the veil is lifted, and all of a sudden you start to see how this can become reality. And that's kind of the reason I said, let me just give Larry a call, just right from the property that I'm in right now that I just acquired. I'm going to be looking at another one on Monday, another one on Wednesday.
Awesome.
And it's doable. It's doable. It's something that, again, had I not become a student, I probably wouldn't have been motivated enough to do the kind of searching out of opportunities, properties that I'm doing now. I probably would have just been sitting at home, continuing to think about it, thinking about, this would be great to do. But when you actually take action, that's when the magic happens.
I love testimonials, man. They're great. And funny, if you ever gone to Google, we have 210 5-star Google reviews. We don't have anything but 5-star Google reviews, which at the same time, it sounds like it's rigged, but it's not. Every single person gives us a 5-star Google review. We actually had one bad Google review about 2 years ago.
Yeah, what happened to that?
And the guy took it off because I embarrassed him. Because, he goes, don't waste your money. And I'm like, yeah, don't waste your money if you're not going to show up for class. Don't waste your money if when you do show up for class, you're going to take out your phone and just watch the stuff on your phone and text message people. And don't waste your time if you're not going to show up for your coaching appointments. And then I finally said at the end, didn't you make $15,000 off of one of the trades I told you about? And then that was it. He took the review down. All right, D, we love you, man. Thanks so much for calling. We appreciate it. And we'll see you on Monday.
Great show. Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
You got it, man. Cool. All right. So
cool.
where were we? We were in the middle of like how to set bail and arraignment, and I was about to tell a story because you had said something interesting. You had said something that what they see in the newspaper is just, what was it? Just the arraignment?
Just the affidavit.
The affidavit,
Basically,
right.
pick and choose, cherry pick out of the affidavit.
Right.
Here are the highlights of what this person's accused of.
Right, and then you said if you ever sat in an arraignment, you would find it interesting.
So can you explain the difference between the affidavit and the arraignment?
Well, the affidavit is just basically the affidavit of probable cause. Here's what we're alleging happened.
Okay.
And here's why we're charging them with what we're charging.
Okay.
The arraignment, you come to find out some interesting things, nuances. It's not a preliminary hearing. You don't get into that, but the extent of the violent act, let's say, or what is going on between the parties, or the fact that somebody, they're living at home, they're going to show up, they don't live anywhere near there, and just how much harm there is to the community and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I know my colleagues are all very good. I don't know what their political persuasion, because when you said arraignment, it has nothing to do with politics, and people infuse that into social media, and it really frustrates me.
Oh, I can
and I
imagine
wanted
that.
to say politically or publicly, there is no politics in setting an arraignment. There is no
Of course.
Republican or Democrat way to do it. Us judges and my colleagues, we try to do what's best for the community, what's fair for the defendant, and fair to everybody. And that's what we're trying to do. There's no agenda. There's no political anything. And I just notice on social media, people want it to be that. Oh, these liberal judges, there is no liberal or conservative. We are just sitting there trying to figure out what is best for the public and best for our community. And we happen in Montgomery County to be doing arraignments for the whole county. And it's not easy. And trust me, we don't want anyone getting out there hurting the community. But we also don't want somebody sitting in jail and losing their liberty, because that's a pretty big deal, having your liberty and having your freedom. And, the government is accusing you of something. So you have to weigh those two things, and it's a difficult thing to weigh. The easy thing to do would throw everybody accused of anything in jail, and you got no problems. But I think that's a cop-out. I think it's more important to weigh the liberty, weigh what's fair, and try your best, hopefully, not to have anything happen out there in the community. And so far, I think we're pretty good at it. You don't want somebody getting out and doing something harmful. But for the most part, what people don't think about, somebody gets out, does something harmful, that's bad. But you don't think about the people that are out doing something positive because they're out. They're going to have their time in court, and they may be found guilty, and they may go to jail. And some of them do. Most of them do. But it's a balancing act, and it's very difficult, and there is no political ideology in it. And I just want to defend all the judges out there at my level throughout the state of Pennsylvania, because they do a hard job, and it's not easy, and there's no agenda.
So it's interesting. We'll have people call this show, and they'll say, "Well, I couldn't get rid of the tenant because of some liberal judge," and it's funny. And I'll sit here and I will question them, because I know it's not the judge, what liberal or it doesn't matter what what side of politics the judge is on. It's typically because they didn't file in time, they didn't file properly, or they didn't follow the rules. So like in Philadelphia, you sit in front of the judge. The judge actually sits there, and the first thing he says, "Do you have your business license? Do you have your rental license? And do you have your suitability certificate?" That's the first thing the judge says. And if you don't have those three things, the judge says, "Sorry, case dismissed," which means now you have a tenant who's not paying in your property in Philadelphia, and because you didn't do the paperwork properly. Now, you can't even go back to court until you do the paperwork properly. And the interesting part is this sort of the suitability certificate needs to be signed by the tenant. And do you think a tenant that you're trying to throw out is not going to sign that piece of paper? No, probably not. So you now, because of that, basically ruined it for yourself.
Certificate of rental suitability doesn't have to be signed by the tenant.
It doesn't?
No, you have to print it out before the lease gets signed.
Right.
So if
the
lease
tenant doesn't sign it at the time of the lease?
No, it doesn't have to be signed.
Okay.
It just has to be it has to be printed before
and it has to
they
be
get
attached
in.
to the lease, right?
Yeah, it has to be attached.
Okay,
It has to be there before
Okay.
for example, my tenant just moved in on the 5th, and I had to make sure that rental suitability had to be started before
No,
the
the license,
5th.
yes, and business license.
No, the rental certificate of rental suitability. It expires every 3 months, but you have to print it out before they move in.
Okay.
And it has to be before the lease starts.
Okay.
Otherwise, so if they
There you
moved
go.
in the 5th of what are we in? January, and I sue for January's rent, I can't sue until after February, or I can only sue from the date of the suitability onward.
But
Can you file while the tenant's still inside?
Yeah, sure. Why can't you file?
No, for the suitability. Can you
Yeah,
file?
You can get it. You can get it
They
online.
don't need to come and inspect the property or
All
anything
that has
like
to
that.
be done beforehand.
No, I understand, but okay, I will give you a scenario.
Yeah.
I'm in a situation right now in Philadelphia, for example. I'm not, but I'm giving an example that the tenant is inside. I don't have my certificate. I don't have all that. I went
Okay,
to
so
court.
hold on. There's a bunch of
The
different things.
one second. The
Okay.
judge dismissed my case, and now in order to basically get possession, because the tenant is not paying me, I need to set up all those certificates.
Yeah, but you have to have them in place before that tenant moves in.
Right, but if you didn't
Are you
have
kidding
them in
me?
place, because this is a lot of people in Philadelphia do this. A lot of Philadelphia landlords, they either do it out of ignorance or they do it intentionally.
They didn't know. Let's say they didn't know.
Well, it's an ignorance.
Yeah.
So they don't get the business license, they don't get the rental license, and they don't get the suitability, and then the tenant stops paying.
Then they're
and
out of luck.
Then they go to court. But
What are they doing?
How do they eventually get the tenant out? Do you know? I mean, I don't think Judge Levine knows either.
I don't know.
Philly's another planet. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
How do you get a certificate while the tenant is in? How are you getting out of this
I just
loophole?
want to be clear because there's three different things going on here. But there's certificate of rental suitability. You just print once you have your license and you have your rental license up there, you can print out the certificate of rental suitability. It expires every 3 months, but you need to print it out before they move in so that you can evict them from day one.
Debbie, I understand all that. Let's say I didn't know all that. I bought a house from another investor with a tenant inside. I didn't know. Now I can't file against the tenant. The tenant is inside. How can I get those certificates while the tenant is still inside to get out of this loophole that I can't file in court?
Okay, so I'm not sure, but I think you still have to go and get your license. I think you still have to go through all the steps, and then once you have all those complete, then you can file for eviction.
And the other thing you need is a lead paint test.
Yeah, I know. That's everywhere right now.
Right,
man,
because
it is
a
a
lead
pain.
paint test.
And
They
it's just for
they also
rentals.
won't evict you.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's just for
they also
rentals,
dismiss the case.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy.
Every 5 years.
Crazy now.
It's not an easy business to get into. I had a landlord this week, and it was the first time they'd ever done it, and it was just a total breakdown.
Tell them to go to investor schooling. We'll teach them how to be a
I
landlord.
may do that because it was bad, but a part of it, I had empathy. I had empathy for both parties, but I'm like, look, this is your first time getting into this. It's not as easy as it sounds. It sounds like, I just have a home and I just collect the money. It is not that easy. But I think the broader thing that I wanted to bring up is maybe there are some landlords that are a little more sympathetic to tenants than they are to landlords, but I don't think that has anything to do with any political ideology
No, it's
whatsoever.
not. It's not political. You said the problem, and I can say the name of a judge.
No,
I won't do it because you know exactly who I'm talking about, and
maybe he does, maybe he doesn't.
No, he does. And there are judges,
and that's an interesting conflict.
It's okay.
It's an interesting conflict that we're presenting because judges at our level are elected. So there is this weird dynamic where it's these are tenants. They're going to vote for me.
And not all of them are
Thank
lawyers.
you. They are elected.
So some of them are elected and they're not lawyers. They were never a lawyer. They don't even know about the law.
They are elected by their community, and this is the problem. A judge needs sometimes to be in a conflict of, am I serving my community or am I serving the law? And that's the problem because not all law are strict. Sometimes the judge needs to do some translation here, and he needs to serve the community but also serve the law.
Well, that's an ethics thing. If a judge is bending the rules because he wants to get favoritism from a tenant who lives there who will vote for him, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Mm-hmm. What I tend to find is most rentals, a lot of tenants either don't vote, they're transient. You just got to throw all that out the window. I mean, you're not in there to be campaigning. You really should not be thinking about that as a judge when you're up on the bench. You're seeing the facts ahead of you. You're seeing what's going on. Did they pay on time? Have they not paid on time? That's it, and just stick to the guns.
What can we do?
What is it? What kind of internal measures are there to make sure that's actually?
There is a judicial conduct board.
Okay.
There's a whole ethics board. So, I mean, if you're straying from the ethics, you could get disciplined for sure. You could get suspended, things like that.
But how does that even come?
Anyone can file against it. If you think a judge is not following the rules or doing something unethical, you can go to the judicial conduct board, and they'll investigate it, and it could be nothing. Okay. I've been investigated for it. Was bull crap.
Okay.
They were just simply unhappy with the decision I made. Well, you're not going to win on that. But, people
No, I
get
knew a
pissy.
judge I should have taken.
But-
Anyway, real quickly, we got Bill from Amber. What's going on, Bill?
Hey guys, enjoying the show today. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
taking
man.
my call.
Thank you.
I know this voice right away. You're not going to get me.
Oh, this is somebody you know?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever listened to the show before, Bill?
Yes, I did.
All right, good. See that? He actually listened to the show before. Isn't that cool?
Well, he probably doesn't want to say
Yes,
no
sir.
because
So what's going on, man? Talk to us.
I had a question regarding what I should do with my financing on a investment property I have in the Poconos.
Okay.
So currently it's being rented out, and I have a 15-year commercial loan on it in my personal name.
Okay.
And I guess it's variable, so in 2029 it'll change the rate, I guess, based on New York Prime plus a margin of 1%.
Okay.
So currently I'm paying 8.85%.
So all right. So first of all, how much is the property worth?
The appraisal is 185 and my principal is about 139.
Okay, so I mean, you have a long time. You have to worry about this. You got 5 more years to worry about it, right?
Correct.
So I mean, are you renting it out?
It's being rented out, correct.
And how much rent are you getting?
About 1,300. Oh, excuse me, 1,500.
So you're paying your mortgage, most of the HOA, and maybe some of the taxes. You might be behind about $100.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's holding itself pretty even.
Yeah. Okay.
So my concern was the raising rates in years to come, or what you guys would think you would do personally. I know getting a new loan that stretches it out to 30 is great for lower monthly, but then you're paying, a lot more in interest long term. So I didn't know what you guys would think to do.
Here's
May I ask a question?
Here's the first thing you have to just change your mindset. Okay. What do you call somebody who goes to work every day to pay your mortgage?
Best buddy.
A tenant.
Tenant. Yeah.
A tenant. So your tenant is paying for the mortgage. Your tenant is paying all your interest. Your tenant is paying all your all your expenses. Like you said, you're just breaking even. That's fine. But what's going to happen next year? Is the rent going to go up or go down?
Either the same or go up.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're raising rents on it, even if you're raising rents $35 a year, $50 a year, $100 a year, you're eventually not only get positive cash flow, but your value is also going up. How many year loan is it? 15-year loan?
Yeah, 15-year.
And it was amortized for 15 years?
I'm not sure.
Do you have a balloon payment at the end?
No, but according to it should be paid off if it all goes to plan in 15 years.
Right, but is there a balloon? So you owe zero at the end of 15 years.
Correct.
So how long have you had the property? Or how long have you had this loan? I should say.
Less than a year.
Okay, so first of all, 15-year amortization schedule is fantastic because you're paying mostly principal as time goes by, so it's actually great for you. But look, here's the deal. So come 5 years from now, if you're worried about the rate going up, you could always refinance the loan. But I don't see anything wrong with what you have right now.
And I have a question, please.
Sure. Okay.
When was the last time you increased the rent?
This is the first year that I've
You
been
just
renting
bought the
it. So
property.
this is
Okay.
the initial.
So, will you? The first thing I would do is run comps in the area for what's the market in rent value, and figure out if the place is in the market rate, or maybe it's extremely under market rent. And
so I'm curious, why did you go to the Poconos where do you live? You're in Amber, right?
Yes, sir.
So why did you buy a house in the Poconos to rent?
That's where my money could go the most for me right now.
Okay. So you need to come to investor schooling because you know how much money you need to buy a property?
Tell me.
0. We teach people how to buy properties with absolutely no money out of their pocket.
Always 0.
It's always 0. So you did it with about $50,000 out of your pocket, right? But you could have, you could have done it with 0. and you may or may not have gone to the Poconos. That's okay. The only problem with the Poconos is you have to drive there 2 hours, 2.5 hours every time you have to change tenants, or if there's a problem. Correct?
I hear you. Yep.
Do you have another house in the Poconos? Maybe that's yours.
Yes, another rental.
Okay, so now you got two. Okay, so now if you're starting to build a collection in the same
Portfolio,
area,
yeah.
it gets better because at least you visit them, at the same time. So look, I don't think you have a problem at all. I think you're doing well. I mean, you bought the property. You only had it for a year. It hasn't gone up in value. You owe a little bit less than what it's worth, and you're covering your bills. So I don't see a problem here. If a problem starts to happen, let's worry about solving the problem when the problem starts to happen.
All right. Well, I appreciate the help and the advice.
You got it, man. And if you really are a friend of Ed's, stop by on Thursday. Come to investorschooling.com.
Please
learn some other things. Learn how to buy properties with no money, and we could talk about the math and how to do math on these properties, and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, go to investorschooling.com and press the RSVP button.
Yes, there you go.
You got it. Great show today, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Bill. I'll be watching the Super Bowl with Bill tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So tell Bill how cool we are.
Oh, yeah, I always do. I'll send pictures and everything. Very great.
What kind of pictures?
We'll figure that out after the show.
That's only in our group. It's not.
Okay, because you got me worried.
We still have our Super Bowl prediction at the end of the
Yeah,
show.
we should.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We got.
All right, so let's do this. Why don't we take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back in about 2 minutes. This is Larry Steinhouse with Investor Schooling.
His name.
You know when the best time to buy investment
they're listening.
properties
Yeah, it's fine.
That's not even his name.
It's always now. You just need to learn how to buy them correctly.
But he's actually
Go to
my constable,
investorschooling.com and sign up for a
Mm.
complimentary class this
To
Thursday
reveal
night.
that,
We
we
are
are
to buy
today.
investment
Yeah, I
properties
know.
and make money every time. That's right. That's what we teach. We teach how to buy investment properties and make
But
money
there
every
used to be
time.
a show
Go to
up in North
investorschooling.com
Penn
and
on
RSVP
WMTV
right now.
called
Take a
Legal
class this
Speak,
Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
And I used to
That's
go on that.
investorschooling.com.
And he called in one time.
This is
He was
Larry
like, "What do you
Steinhouse with
think
Investor
of
Schooling. Are you ready
Judge
for retirement?
Thurgood Marsh?"
Have you
He
prepared
just started
everything you
listing
need?
judges.
Well,
and
Investor
it's
Schooling,
just-
we will teach
he
you
wouldn't
ways
stop.
to
What's
prepare
interesting?
for your retirement
Craig
using
called.
real estate
He
and
called
the
the rec.
stock market. But you need to learn
What's
how
that?
to do it right.
Your
And that's
friend
what we
called the rec.
teach. At Investor
Well,
Schooling, we sell
isn't that
nothing
what
but
the number's
education.
for?
Come to Investor Schooling
he's
and
the
learn how to have a
radio
better
station number,
retirement.
not
Go to
ours.
investorschooling.com
You know, I know.
and RSVP right
Because
now
I would have
for
a
this
record of who it
Thursday's
was.
class at 7 o'clock.
Ah.
Go to
So when they call the
investorschooling.com.
855
That's investorschooling.com.
He called the station.
I know who it is, so he called the rec. This is He
Larry
Larry
Steinhouse
Steinhouse
with
with
the
Investor
Investor
Schooling. Don't go
PhD.
through life ignorant about how to become a millionaire. Learn how to invest in real estate, the stock market, precious
People are
metals,
listening.
and
How-
learn from
how
an
can we
expert.
tell how many
At
people are
Investor
on,
Schooling, we
Facebook right
teach
now?
these things
So it
and
depends,
more.
because
We
you can-
only
I can only
provide
see one
education,
channel.
and we will teach you how to leverage real estate, how to leverage the
it's not
stock
that many.
market,
It's
and
like
how to
3
leverage
on one
precious
channel,
metals
but
to make
sometimes
more
it's
money than
5
you've
on
ever
another
made
channel, 10 on
before.
another
Go to
channel.
investorschooling.com and take a
Yeah,
complimentary
YouTube,
class this
I see
Thursday.
how that's
We will see you
going.
there. Investorschooling.com.
Does
That's
that show you as you're
investorschooling.com.
looking at it? I think it does.
This is Larry Steinhouse with Investor Schooling. You may know me from my book, Money Hacks. You may know me from my radio shows. And you may even know me from some of these commercials. But listen, I'm teaching stuff that people need to learn about money. In fact, my favorite topic is money. So go to investorschooling.com and you will learn things about money that you never even knew existed. We will teach you things about real estate, about the stock market, and about how to use
I'm
your
looking forward to
IRAs
pizza.
properly. Go to
Yeah, I'm
investorschooling.com
hungry.
and
Stand by.
complimentary
I don't have
class
much
this
time.
Thursday night
Go
at
back
7
on.
o'clock. That's investorschooling.com.
This program is paid for by Investor Schooling.
Ah.
You know, it's amazing, Omri. You don't even realize that I'm supposed to do an intro now. I'm supposed to say, hi, this is Larry Steinhouse. Welcome back to the Larry Steinhouse Show. You want me to do it now?
No, do it as you go.
Can you start the music back up, Frank?
From the beginning.
Yeah.
From the drums.
He must be answering the phone. Oh, here we go.
No.
So he's not.
No,
Frank's
it's
not
different
used to
music.
doing it. Yeah, Frank's not used to doing it. That's all.
Frank's not used to our show, right?
He's not used to
Maybe
our
it's a
show.
mixtape and they need to rewind it all the time.
This is Larry Steinhouse. Welcome back to the Larry Steinhouse Show. I'm here with Dr. Deb, with Omri Morad, the immigrant. And we're also here with, of course, our favorite judge, Judge Ed Levine.
Yes.
He's just an awesome guy. Just
Okay.
an awesome guy.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't align politically, but we align in everything else.
You're so much more than okay.
We don't know that. We don't know what my politics are. You see, you have to keep it amorphous. You have to keep it out there for me. So we may align, we may not align. I don't know.
I mean,
What
I'd
are we
love to have
talking
it.
about?
I have no idea anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
done.
Thank you, Dan.
I'd love to have a great conversation, but I can't because it's not really why you're here.
I was like,
You're here
I
to
got
talk
lost
about. You're
there.
here to talk about the law. You're here to talk about how judges act. So talk to me real quick about like when somebody goes in front of a judge, right? Because it used to be you go in front of a judge, you had to wear a suit and tie, but now it's like everybody just wears their regular street clothes, correct?
I always say to people, I won't penalize you for not dressing up, but I'll give you points if you do. I mean, it's respectful. It's cool. But I don't go too crazy. Look, people work. They have jobs. They're coming in for a traffic ticket. They got to get in there. They're feeding their kids. I don't go too crazy over the wardrobe. And I'll say it on podcast. Sometimes I wear my flip-flops in the summertime under that robe. So, look, man, it's hot out there.
Right.
So
I walk in.
But other judges can get very persnickety about wardrobe and attire, and some always wear a suit and tie underneath their robe. It's just depends on the judge. I'm a little more lax, clearly.
Yeah, you're a cool guy. Yeah. You're like you're a Woodstock kind of guy.
Yeah, a little bit.
And that's cool. I mean, actually, you're in your courtroom. You have posters,
concert
right?
posters.
Yeah, which is really cool. In the courtroom, he has concert posters. It's just so cool.
It is a reflection. It's a public space, but it's also a reflection of the judges there. I think the judges should take part and show their personality a little bit in there, because I think it actually calms people down when they come in and they go, "Oh,
they're human
this
beings.
is like a human being.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is something I'm not afraid."
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I bring the dog in too, and that totally chills everybody out. But that's a whole nother thing.
And I think that's the thing about you that I noticed the most when the first time I met you was that you're just like a regular guy.
Well, and I think most of the judges are, especially in Pennsylvania at this level, at magisterial district courts, because you really are dealing with people that don't have that much legal knowledge. They're not lawyers. So the biggest thing is to make them have faith in the system, to make them understand I'm trying to do the right thing and be fair for you. So I just want people to be comfortable. And for most people, this is their only engagement with the judicial system. So might as well make it a good one, and one where it's like, well, Judge Ed was cool, so the process can't be all that bad.
Yeah.
Now, I've been in front of judges that were mean and nasty, and they didn't even, it almost seemed like they didn't want to be there. And then
I don't get that.
Judges that listened, that so it's kind of gets weird sometimes.
Some judges,
surprised.
yeah, some judges like to behave like gods.
Yeah.
There is what they call it, black robe syndrome, where once you get that robe on and your ego gets inflated, and it's like, well, I am in charge and I can take advantage of these things. Some judges do get a little black robe syndrome.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's incumbent upon their colleagues to go, hey, look, tone it
Where
down.
can I get a black robe?
You can go to Amazon.
That's it? No, are you getting it?
If he walks in
Got
with
a
a black,
wig?
if he walked into your courtroom
Thank
wearing a
you!
black robe, what would you do?
You stole my joke.
I would laugh. I would be like,
Thank
okay.
you. No, I won't dress anything underneath. Only a black robe.
Well, I don't want to know.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, I'm not sure you want
If
to
the
hear that.
black robe accidentally ripped or fell off, you'd go to jail.
I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, it would be
would be funny.
it would be a landlord-tenant's case that
All right, if I ever have a landlord-tenant case in Judge Ed's,
Yeah.
well, you and I are coming to black
In black robe.
but we can't do that because we know him. We can't do it. It would just be
All I ask, be yourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Dress
Yeah,
how you
and we still haven't dressed in drag for Debbie's lunch, right?
I know.
So-
Debbie has a lunch so what we do is in adventure schooling, we have a lot of social stuff that we do.
Yes.
And Debbie has a group that she has the ladies club or what do you call
Ladies
it?
lunch, yeah,
Ladies lunch, right?
Ladies lunch.
So it's Wednesday at. If anybody wants to come, it's going to be ladies only. It's Wednesdays at this Wednesday at 12 o'clock. We're going to meet at the Irish Rover. I just have to double check, make sure they're open.
It's
That's
not.
funny. But 12 o'clock at the Irish Rover. But
It's
if any
not ladies only.
So if a man wants to come dressed in drag, I will buy you your first beer. But you have to do it from like head to toe. You got the makeup, the hair, the dress, the
And
shoes,
the best
whole
part
bit.
is now you still have to call him he.
And I still would have to call him he.
Right.
But I will buy your first beer. But
No,
absolutely.
it's
Red
not
Rover,
true.
12 o'clock.
You can't call him them day, but he can be a she. Right?
Well, now, no.
What
So
changed?
You could do whatever you want, but now I'm allowed to do whatever I want.
Yeah, no, but there isn't a middle. It's a man or a woman, but there
So
isn't a
Trump
middle.
just
That's
said
the only
that-
thing,
that
right?
He just signed an order that there's only two sexes in the U.S.
Okay.
Right? So you're either a man
So
or a
you are
woman.
allowed to call him a she.
Right, but the big thing
Regardless
is
of that, if some dude wants to get a free beer out of your thing,
No.
just tell him the
Yeah.
rules.
Free dinner.
That's all
Follow
we
the
want.
rules. That's it.
yeah.
Just follow the rules. Her rules.
Not only
I would
beer.
bet you that Ed's going to show up in his black robe.
Oh.
Ed, if you
Wig
show up,
on.
I'll be happy to buy you a beer.
Let's go.
Be happy to buy you a beer.
Yeah, we finally drifted off into
what?
Someplace where whatever. This is what we usually talk about, Ed. We get into stuff.
Oh, I know.
Stuff. We get into some of this stuff sometimes.
But we do have a couple questions online that you haven't answered yet.
Oh yeah, have we? What is
Let's
it?
go.
Yeah. So one was Chris was asking about a business purchase and when should he come. So because
So his question is like, great show. I have a business purchase and financing question. Is Monday night mastermind good, or should I book a consulting appointment?
Of course, it's good.
Chris, I so appreciate you listening, and I so appreciate you sending us a text message. But that's kind of like not what the show's about. But the answer to your question is both.
Yeah, both.
You're going to come on Monday night, and you're going to book a coaching appointment. So that's the real answer to that question. It's kind of like not really, but Kimmy's got one. If you own the mineral rights to a piece of property owned by someone else, and that person lost the property to a tax sale, do you still own the mineral rights?
Wow,
that's
no.
interesting.
No.
Is it definitely no?
I'm pretty sure that because they take everything, so I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
The mineral rights are part of the property.
Wouldn't the deed include the fact that someone else owns the mineral rights on the deed now?
The deed is lost. The deed is now, it doesn't matter because the deed now goes back to the county. They no longer, because they no longer own it.
But is the deed's not clouded by that?
The deed might be clouded by that.
So that might be a question to ask our attorney. So we have an attorney that we use, Steve Eisenberg. It might be a good idea. Actually, we got a call from Jay. What's going on, Jay?
How you doing, Larry?
What's happening, man? Anything good?
Omri.
You called us before, Jay, right?
You know who this is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is our favorite electrician.
Usually on Mondays.
Oh, it's Jay. I just realized. I just.
It took you a while.
Yeah,
it took you a while.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Oh, good.
So what's happening, man? What do you want to talk about?
So I have a question. I have a triplex out in Spring City, and the neighbor's tenant uses the driveway for they have a kind of a makeshift parking area, and they use our driveway to access it. And since we have a lot of snow and plowing and salting, I was wondering if they would have to be responsible to help pay for some of this cost.
Okay, I just want to get I want to get this straight. So you own a house. It's your house, is that right?
Yeah.
And then next door is another house, right? And the driveway that is attached to your house
it's like an easement.
No, I know, but before you get to the easement, there's a lot more. There's more to it. So that driveway now is that driveway. Is that driveway supposed to be for their access, or is it that you just turn the other way?
No, we just got it like 2 years ago. So last year we sent them a letter. It's just our driveway.
Okay. So you can restrict them from that driveway. You can say, sorry, you can't be in this driveway. You know that, right?
Yes.
So when you sent them a letter 2 years ago, what did the letter say?
It said that, if you want to continue using the driveway, we would like you to help, pay for some of the costs of upkeep.
Okay.
Snow plowing, salting.
All right.
So we sent 2 letters last year and 1 letter this year, and now we told them that we were going to put a chain up to block their parking access.
Awesome.
And then we got a letter from their lawyer saying that we weren't allowed to do that.
You know why? Because the lawyer is trying to get you for adverse possession. So, how long have you owned the property? 2 years? I'm sorry. How
2
long?
Years.
How long?
2 years. He said 2 years.
You own the property 2
2
years. How long is the person next door you living there?
I don't know.
So here's where it gets a little weird, and I don't know if it's going to be a problem, but the lawyer is trying to win, but he may have a problem, but he may not have a problem. So the question here now is the last person who owned your property, how long did he allow that person to use that driveway for without telling him he couldn't, or without granting him a license. And let me explain the two problems. The first one is if he allowed him to use that driveway for 21 years and never said anything, he owns the driveway. Or he owns the easement to the driveway. He might even own the driveway if you're not careful. The other one was if he granted him a license, which is the smarter way to do it, is you grant him a license, say, hey, listen, I noticed you're using my driveway. I am hereby giving you permission to use my driveway. However, I have the
ability to revoke.
The ability to revoke that permission at any time. So that's what you would do in that case. Now the problem is you moved into this house 2 years ago, and if the last guy lived in the house longer than 21 years, and this guy had been doing it for 21 years, it's possible he already has adverse possession. Now, most likely he doesn't, because most likely nobody filed, nobody did what he was supposed to do. Here's what I would tell you to do. Put the chain up.
Me too. And I have another question for you, Jay. You said you also sent a letter last year.
Right.
What happened last year? Have you got any reply last year?
No, they just ignored it.
They ignored the letter.
Yeah.
But in the letter...
We sent one to the owner, so it is also a rented property next door. So we sent one to the owner and one to the tenant.
And what did
the tenant's not there 21 years. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way. So you're fine.
No. Any chance, so the lawyer represent, just to make sure, but the lawyer represent the tenant, not the owner.
The lawyer represents the owner.
Yeah. Okay.
So the owner fights for the right. That's a different scenario.
So do you have the original deed? You should.
Do I have the original deed?
Call your title company and see if there's an easement granted to this other. That's what the judge was talking about. See if there's an easement granted to this property that they have permission to use it. Now, if not,
okay. So
go ahead.
I was going to say, so what if there was some kind of verbal agreement?
It's verbal agreement. Good luck trying to prove it.
Okay.
Right. So the old people, and besides, that doesn't mean that the agreement has been extended to you.
Yeah, and the only way to prove it is if the previous owner of your house or the previous owner of your house will come to court and said, I allowed the owner of the neighbor's house to use this
which
section.
Doesn't mean that permission gets.
And I'm pretty sure property permission has to be in writing anyway.
Yeah.
But even though it doesn't mean that it's followed. It doesn't even if it was in writing. It doesn't mean it follows to the new owner.
So what the lawyer claim in the letter?
Just that the adjoining property.
He mentioned lot lines, for example, or no?
No, nothing like that. I need to get in touch with the lawyer and to see. Apparently, I don't think that they told the lawyer all the information.
No, also,
that,
you know what you need? You should get a survey done. Get a survey done, and before you even don't talk to the lawyer, because as soon as you talk to the lawyer, you're already lost. So get a survey done.
I agree.
Right, get a survey done. Find out where your property lines are, because maybe you're wrong. Maybe that driveway is cut in half. Who knows? But before you do it, you need to make sure that you're doing it right.
And you know what's the cheapest way to do a survey those days? You won't believe it.
What's that?
Call a fencing company.
Oh, that's right.
They will do the survey. They will do the survey and they will put the fence for you. Because if you will go to a survey company, it will cost you more. You won't believe. I tried a few times.
Good. Okay, there you go. So do that. Get a survey, and then you can use the survey by writing back to to be honest with you, as soon as the survey said that I own the property, I'd put that chain up.
Yes, correct.
And then as soon as that chain is moved by the person next door, I would call the police. And I would say, this guy is on my property. Here's the survey. I'm proving it. If he touches my chain one more time, I want him arrested. What would you do, Judge?
I like the chain idea.
See that?
I'm always least resistance, but I think that's up there. But definitely get the survey, find out what rights you have to that property. If it's yours, so a lot of times lawyers just send letters to threat.
Yeah, exactly.
Really having nothing. Yeah. But hey, maybe they'll cave and I've just sent a threatening letter, or not even that threatening, but just a legal letter. And sometimes that scares people. I've done that before. Like, I know I can't win, but hey, it gets the ball rolling,
Yeah.
and maybe you get something out of it.
So we have somebody asking online, but should that permission have been enclosed in the cell?
Disclosed in the cell.
Exactly. Which
but
is
here's the thing. So that's why I said you need to check the deed to see if there's an easement granted. Because if there's an easement granted deed, you got no Jay. You're you're SOL, man.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It won't go so far, but realistically, if the seller gave this permission and he didn't say that during the sale,
it doesn't matter if he has a written piece of permission. If it's written,
yeah.
So the seller has written permission with the other landlord.
No. Jay's seller, the guy who sold the house to Jay, if he gave permission to the other landlord-tenant situation, and it was 21 years ago.
Well, it wasn't 21 years ago.
I know it's not.
That's a different situation. 21 years ago is adverse possession.
Yes.
But you're talking about did he give him permission? Let's say he gave him permission in writing.
Okay.
And he never disclosed it to Jay.
Okay, yes, correct.
Well, Jay now has a possible lawsuit against the other guy.
Thank you.
That's your question. Right?
You answered, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think that's what happened. I don't think the guy has an easement. I don't think the guy has permission.
Mhm.
I think the guy's just, trying
the best.
win.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And the weird part is, why would the landlord get involved? If I own that property and this guy is a tenant and he was using somebody else's driveway, I say, yeah, I'm sorry, you can't use
Well,
the
does
driveway.
the tenant have any other access to the property?
No.
Ah.
Not to their driveway. It's on street parking.
So if the driveway's I'm gonna tell you right now, there's an easement on that deed. There's no doubt in my mind there's an easement on that deed, and you know what's gonna happen? Even if there's not an easement on that deed because somebody made a mistake, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it granted very simply. So now I would write to the landlord and say, hey, thank you very much for sending me this letter. Here are the bills that for me to plow this. Here's the bills for us to blah, 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 blah,
For years, yeah.
I want them paid, and then I would sue them for that money.
Yeah. Now, you said they have no access for their driver. I'm sorry, for their driveway.
They have no access to the driveway.
So it's not a driveway, basically.
It's just that, they have no access to the parking area.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
there's an
street
easement on
parking,
that. There's
so
definitely
it's
an
not like
easement.
Something is, yeah.
There's definitely an easement on that. I would also, so I would say I would just call. I would write to the first of all, double check it, get a survey done. But at the same time, even if you own the land, it's very likely that there's an easement granted to them.
Yeah.
And you might want to even check the deed because it would say it on the deed. However, if none of this shows up at the same time, I would say, look, here's what I'll do. I have no problem granting you access, but you must share in the expenses of the driveway. These are your current. Until I receive a check from you, I will be putting a gate up, and then see what they do.
And in all honesty, the landlord can tack that on to the rent. Anyway.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's not that.
Sure,
big.
or the tenant can just do it himself.
And the first thing I would do before all that, go to GSX. What's the name of the website that you can see the lot lines?
GIS.
GIS. I'm sorry.
The GIS.
Go to GIS and see the lot lines, and maybe it will enlighten something. Maybe
but
it
that's
will
also- you
show
can't-
you that there is a path that it's joined.
Yeah, but you can't use that in a court of law. It says it right on the website. You can't.
I
use it in a
get
court
it,
of
but it's just to enlighten the situation.
Yeah, just to get an idea. So
Yeah,
it's funny.
exactly.
Patty actually writes online. She writes, "That's probably why the seller sold the property because she had problematic neighbors." But maybe not.
I have
But
that.
Jay, this is all
Well,
good
no,
stuff.
I don't think I just want help paying for the snow.
Yeah,
plowing.
sure.
That's all.
Sure,
Thank you.
I think you have an argument. I actually think you could take them to small claims court and say, "Hey, this is a driveway that we share. I want half of it paid for."
Mm-hmm.
So it should be pretty easy.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, man. All right, what do you think of that? What do you think of that, Ed? You think he'll get the money for half the driveway, just the plowing?
I think so. I think yeah.
I think it's an easy case.
I think it'll get settled before it goes anywhere, though.
I mean, it's saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
Let's do
a couple $100.
Well, I don't know. I mean, a couple $100. A couple $100 though. You split that in half.
Yeah, exactly.
The landlord puts an extra $5 on the rent. He'll make the.
I mean, think about how funny is this, right? The landlord hired an attorney to write a letter. Right? How much did that cost? $350?
It costs something.
I mean, I don't think Jay's online, but can you imagine how much was the plowing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted to do something. We have 5 minutes.
Well,
less.
we did our Super Bowl predictions.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about the Super Bowl, huh?
Well, I don't. Do you guys even? Are you guys even going to watch it?
Maybe I will watch. Yeah.
I'm like, nope. I have no interest.
Larry?
So I'm going to watch it because my wife is a big Eagles fan.
Okay.
So my wife is like a super Eagles fan.
I assume you love her.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those things that
Okay.
that's kind of
It's implied.
Right? Exactly. Especially because I'm going to watch the Eagles. But to me it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. If it's Philadelphia's team. Not a fan of Philadelphia, but I'm a fan of of the spirit that will be there.
I am also not an Eagle fan, so I try to look at it objectively. But I do say that Philadelphia is a much better city when the Eagles win than when they lose. Everyone's in good spirits. It's just a happy place.
So they break less? Is that what happened? They riot less?
They riot. Well, I don't know about the rioting maybe more, but just the overall aura of this town, especially if they win.
So
on
they've
Sunday.
already greased the poles, right?
I hope so. I mean, somebody
that's
died
hysterical.
from that.
Grease the poles?
Yeah, you don't know about this? So
No.
What people do is they climb the light poles, and they scream and yell and throw things off the light poles, right? So what they do now is they grease the poles so they can't climb them. The expression that you're giving is exactly the expression you should be giving, Omri. It's like, what?
No, grease the pole sounds sexist to me. I don't know what you're talking about, but
It's not that pole. I'm talking about the light poles.
so they're not using Vaseline.
They might, and it might work.
Okay.
But they literally grease the poles to keep people off them.
How can you hold yourself on a light pole?
What I really want to know is, how can the people... I mean, there's a lot of light poles. How can they grease all the light poles? That's what I really want to know.
How do you climb it?
How do you climb it?
You figure out a way. You want to get up there, you can do it.
Yeah, there are
What
people,
did you say, Frank?
There are people who can climb
Said
it.
2 minutes.
All right, so real quick,
We're at the 2-minute warning.
You've got we're at less than 2 minute warning.
Oh.
We're literally at the 45 second warning or something like that. Minute and 15 seconds warning.
So I'm gonna say.
So what do you want to do? What's your prediction?
Eagles 25, Chiefs 22.
All right, what do you got, Deb? I don't care. and I
Just
don't
throw
know.
two numbers out there and pick a team.
I'll do 18 and 24.
Who?
So Eagles first, 18, and I think.
Oh, you think the Chiefs are going to win?
I think the Eagles suck under pressure, and I think
Wow.
that they'll lose. It's consistent.
I think it's going to be a killer game like the last game, where the Eagles are going to get over 40 points.
Wow.
47 points, and it doesn't matter.
I think I'm going to rub myself against some light poles later on today.
Omri has no prediction.
All right. I want to thank all the listeners again for listening. We love you guys. You guys are awesome. Please listen every week.
Yes.
Please listen every week.
Yes, please.
and
call.
And go to investorschooling.com to sign up for a free class. I want to thank, of course, Dr. Deb and Omri for being my coach. And, of course, Judge Ed for coming in today. Great judge. And you guys learned a lot. If you listened, you learned a lot. If you want to learn more, go to investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com, and you will learn about real estate, stock market, and so many different ways to make money. All right, investorschooling.com. We'll see you.